submit to the High Council here on World Class Bullshitters. I'm your host, Jeff, and with me tonight is Mecha Random 42.
Hello.
We're also joined by Tom from Midnight's Edge After Dark.
Hail, everybody in the chat.
And our guest for this evening. He's a man that's in the chat all the time. You know him. He usually plays with Geeks and Gamers, but tonight he's a part of the High Council. Say hello to Ryan Cannell from RK Outpost.
What's going on, everybody? My absolute pleasure to be here. I've been watching this thing since it started, so it's an honor to be on, man. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us, man. This is, I believe, our 103rd episode of the High Council, because the other week we had episode 100, and I figured it out because, you add 3. Anyway, but yeah, this is episode 103 that we're going to be celebrating tonight. So, that's not really anything, but we have a lot to cover. We're going to be talking about the High Republic. It got delayed. Whoop-de-doo, who gives a shit? Then the ever-going saga to emasculate Luke Skywalker with his recent feminizing, if you will. That's a nice way to say it. There was also a hashtag trending Solo 2. It's a bizarre world we live in. And we're going to be talking about the Snyder Cut as well as some Naughty Dog garbage, because anything that comes from Naughty Dog tends to be garbage. So you guys ready to get this show started?
Yeah, Solo lost so much money that Solo 2 is already in the hole.
They had the shirts. It's like they're trying to take advantage of fans that worked for 2.5 years to get some movement on something.
I think we'll kind of get into that a little bit. Yeah.
You know what? Let's start talking about it now. Does anyone
All right,
have
you want to start with the Snyder Cut?
Yeah, we can start with the Snyder Cut because it's the. I said this on the High Council International, folks. If you haven't checked that one out, we had a great stream with Mauler as Heel versus Babyface. We also had Critical Drinker on. We had Lethal Lightning on for a minute. Mecha joined us, and we also had. Did we have one more person join us, Tom, that I'm missing?
Lethal Lightning popped in later.
Critical Drinker.
Critical Drinker was there. If
Andre.
mention him. Andre, of course.
Andre, that's who it was. I forgot.
Okay, yeah.
I knew it was one name. Yeah. But yeah, folks. The first thing I said on the International High Council was, hey, I was wrong, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. I didn't think the Snyder Cut was going to happen at all. I still don't. I mean, I believe it, but I still don't believe it, if that makes sense. Ryan, you're our guest this evening. What were your thoughts when you first saw official confirmation, the word came out that the Zack Snyder Cut of Justice League was going to head to HBO Max in 2021?
Well, I was doing a live stream at the time, and I think maybe the only way, just like absolute, like delirious excitement, because I am someone who always wanted to see it since I walked out of the theaters on, in November, I think is when it came out in 2017. As someone, and I will say I'm probably in the minority of a lot of people in the fandom, I loved Man of Steel. I'm not huge on BVS theatrical, but I think BVS Ultimate Edition is fantastic. I love it. I just love that take on these characters. I go into Justice League and I'm like, what is this? I knew Joss Whedon took over to finish it, but I wasn't aware of all the behind the scenes stuff. And I went and saw it again the next day to kind of like, well, what am I missing? And it was like, this is not like the third movie of this supposed like kind of Superman trilogy. And I started looking for like reasons, and I see all the stuff about Snyder's Cut. I see him talking about it. We see as time goes by, he releases all these images. You get the actors behind the movement. And I was vocal about it. I think I made maybe 12 or 15 Snyder Cut videos for my channel before this happened. And to be a part, to witness that happening was so cool and meant so much to me as one of those people who has been asking for it for so many years. And I felt absolutely awesome.
Can I recommend a channel for you that covers behind the scenes stuff like that? It's called Midnight's Edge, my friend.
Yes. Well, this is back in 2017. In fact, before The Last Jedi, before The Last Jedi even released. So before a lot of the channels that you know and love were as big as they are now. So yeah, it's interesting the comparison between these two fandoms that started around winter of 2017. These fan movements.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
No, so you make an interesting comparison right there. And I was a guy who didn't really like Man of Steel, but still saw it opening night. I saw all the Snyder movies opening night. The only one, I'm not going to, technically it's not a Snyder film, but it's part of the Snyderverse. Suicide Squad is the only one where I visibly screamed or audibly screamed after I left the theater. I was pissed. But I'm in the weird minority that I don't hate Justice League as is. So I'm really curious to see what this is going to be. Mecca, what were your thoughts when you first heard about this?
I was actually shocked that they were going to do it because, that's just one of those things where it would take so much money for anybody to go in and put together all of the, unfinished footage and everything. So I was just kind of shocked that they would spend the money to do it. But I'm happy that the people who want to see it get a chance to, because I think that's really good customer service and that's really good. And I know it's just to sell HBO Max. I know it's just to sell the streaming service, but I think it's really, really an important thing to say, yes, you guys do matter. Fans matter after all the fan bashing and you're an ist and you're a phobe and you're a man baby and you're this and that, to say, you know what, we can do this. We can make this for everybody. Why not? I think that's a good move. So if we see it, that's another thing, but
Tom, since you guys have been covering a lot of Snyder stuff and a lot of the behind the scenes stuff with all of these films over on Midnight's Edge, what were your thoughts when you first saw this confirmed?
I wasn't surprised in a way. I mean, a lot of people probably weren't. Sorry about that. What I was most surprised about was just how basically what I was more surprised about was later on when we started finding out that Warner was against this kind of, the DC people are against it. This all has to do with HBO Max and, all the stuff we've been covering the last few days. And it's kind of interesting, kind of going off of what Mecca said, how, the studio itself is so anti-fan in a lot of way when it comes to this business. But AT&T is just like, give the fans what they want. It's like the opposite of what we saw with CBS and Star Trek almost.
So now, what's the deal with Warner not wanting it?
I think one of the things at Warner, and we went through this several years ago, and we've heard different reports about exactly who, people like Jeff Johns, who, hey, listen, Jeff Johns is an incredible comic book writer, and I love a lot of his work, but I don't necessarily love what he puts on screen. People like that had already moved out, so we were hoping that Warner Brothers would maybe reconsider this kind of anti-Snyder feeling. I feel like they don't want to admit that they were maybe wrong to do what they did. That's how I've always felt about it. And that's why the shift went to push to push AT&T once they officially acquired Warner to do this. And you've seen AT&T on Twitter. They're replying to everything.
Yes.
Like, hey, yeah, we love you guys. You're the ones that did this. It's you that asked for it. And I think they see potential. And we talk about the money that it's going to take to get this out. And we heard today from HBO Max, he said there's maybe over the $30 million that was originally estimated. Let's be real. The Mandalorian cost over $100 million to produce. And that was all for Disney's streaming service. I didn't see anybody complaining about that. I didn't see anybody saying, oh, that's way too much. But now we have a number that's a third of that, for the Snyder cut. And it's, and a lot of people are bashing like, oh, how are they going to make their money back? It's all about promoting the service. And you can see the release the Snyder cut movement, the way they can get stuff trending on social media. That is part of the reason that they wanted this to happen, for this huge promotion for HBO Max. And I think that really played into their psyche as well.
No, I think you're 100% right there, Ryan, with a few additions as well. And the big part being that, yeah, like I was saying, this was like when they decided to use Star Trek to push CBS All Access. But the difference here is they ignored the fans when it came to Star Trek. Like I was saying, this is the opposite. They are listening, not only listening to the fans, they're reconsidering. And again, this is speculation, folks. But if you watched our video earlier, I was even kind of wrong because I was going by certain things I was hearing. But I'm starting to realize that some of the people that I was hearing from are possibly within the Warner DC realm, to where they don't want this. And I'll get a little bit more into that and explain why here in a moment, going off of what Ryan said. But HBO Max is using this, like you were just saying, Ryan, as something to push the streaming service. And I think it's going to be a huge benefit to them. And you're right, spending 30, 40, even $50 million on this, if they're going to do a 6-part miniseries, it makes complete fucking sense in so many ways. Like there's tons of ways we can break that down. That first of all, it's going to be a little cheaper because it's going to be a series instead of a movie, so all the costs are going to be down across the board. The movie's already shot. There may be just a few additional things that need to be finished up. They may even let him expand a little bit on a few things just so they can kind of make it fit in this series narrative instead of it being a 4-hour film or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of potential here, and this opens up the door. They're already considering things we're hearing about, like a possible air cut. Mm-hmm. They're feeding they're fueling the fire, I should say, on possibly Affleck coming back. We're hearing.
We talked a little bit about that.
Yeah, and I talked to you a little bit about that behind the scenes, but the video dropped this morning. I don't know if you saw it or not, but yeah, we're hearing rumors that they're not too happy with Pattinson right now.
That's okay. None of us are.
So if this keeps going in the way it's going, the snowball effect, things might take a strange turn, and it may just be AT&T saying, "No, we're going to do things the way the fans want them." And it doesn't matter what you guys are doing right now at DC. We're going to do it this way. And there's a pro and a con to that. The pro is, it's listening to fans. The con is we did have a problem before that, and that was the direction the DCEU was taking. But as Ryan pointed out, the extended cut of Batman v Superman played much better to the general audiences than the theatrical version, and it sold very well on video. And that, I think, was the first kind of kick to the nuts to that DCEU team, because by that point, they had already decided to change course. And for that film to do better on video like that just goes to show what Ryan was saying, is that they didn't know what they were doing and they were making mistakes. And them overcorrecting with Justice League just showed that they really don't know what the fuck they're doing. And then if you go by our reporting and whatever, all the stuff we found out later about, it all being about getting it done by November because of bonuses and shit like that. And, Snyder wasn't really going to leave. He was planning on finishing the movie, but they used the fact that his stepdaughter had committed suicide as a guise to basically shit can him. I mean, it was up, I mean, there's really no way that this looks good for Warner Brothers. So again, this is just another chance for them to look like shit. And let's face it, even though Jeff said he's got no issues with the Justice League as it is, and there are some people who are fine with it as it is, the majority of the people out there thought it was exactly what it was, a Frankensteinian mess, to quote Andre, because it's two fucking conflicting visions crammed into a 2-hour movie. And so you gotta believe that whatever Snyder comes up with has got to be 10 times better than what we got. Even if it's crap, it's still 10 times better than what we got.
Well, you can only make excuses for your fans or for your movie so many times before people start forming YouTube channels and movements like the Fandom Menace to call out the bullshit. Because what's the first thing that I'll say? Oh, you're just toxic fans. You're just this. You're just that. You'll just complain about anything. And the investors, I think, see that, and they don't want to keep losing money to these studios. And they notice that we're out here talking about this, and they notice that we're out there saying, no, we actually want these things. Here's all this money we're spending on shit, and we could be giving it to you guys if you gave us a movie or a product we'd want.
Old School Lou says, so it will still suck. Look, it's going to be completely subjective, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think, listen, if you're someone who absolutely hates BVS with a passion, I don't think this is going to turn you around on it. Let's just be real. But I do think there are going to be people that watch this just out of interest, even if it's like hate watch or think they will hate watch it. I do think that AT&T knows that. They see the attention this gets, and I think they're banking on some of that as well. And it's gonna be so interesting to see. And I think even now there's people that saying, oh well, it's gonna be this thing where they have to reshoot the whole movie again. It's like, no, that's not what they're doing. They said they're not doing reshoots. They're doing additional dialogue and some additional effect shots. And what I think this is primarily for is that, like you said, they're talking about doing this in 6 episodes. So obviously you want to create some things that make sense in episodic format, some cliffhangers and things like that. And that was all discussed at Zack Snyder's pitch to Warner Brothers and AT&T at that February 8th meeting at his facility.
Yeah, this goes all the way back to November.
Mm-hmm.
This started back in November. About that time he posted that picture on, Instagram?
Well, it was the anniversary. So it was the anniversary.
That's when he first talked to Warner
AT&T.
and AT&T or whatever. Yes.
Yeah.
That's what we heard. And that was the point. They watched the movie again because the original executives that saw it, you got to remember, and in all fairness in their mindset, they watched that original cut right after the disaster that was BBS in theaters. And they were looking at this thing like, oh my God, we've got this long, dark, 4-hour movie that's more of the same that we just put out in theaters. Now, granted, I have to say with an asterisk, like I said, the version that was out in theaters is much different, or at least different enough from the Ultimate Edition that I have to admit, just like most people, that it is a much better film in that version and makes much more sense. Now, again, whether or not you like that movie or not still depends on whether or not it is to your tastes. I personally think that it fixes the movie a little bit, but it's still not a great movie, but I have my issues with it personally. Do I think I'm going to like the Snyder Cut? Probably not, but I think I'm going to like it a hell of a lot better than the Whedon Cut. I mean, again, it's all subjective. Like, Jeff, were you a big fan of this? You didn't sound like you were a huge fan of a lot of the stuff anyway, but didn't seem like Justice League bothered you. So, I mean, where are you going into this? It sounds like you're kind of middle ground.
I am, because I can tell you my exact thoughts with Justice League. I rarely take my mom to a movie, but I thought, Mom, let's go see Justice League. Nobody cares about this for the YouTube channel. So we're sitting there watching it, and it gets to the part, I don't even know where the climax of the film is. Are they in Russia? Is that where Steppenwolf was?
Yeah.
Okay.
Something
it gets
like
to the
that.
part, it's literally the shot where the Batwing flies in, and we're at the climax. I'm like, where does this movie get bad? Because I'd read all these reviews and all these things. I was like, when is this going to shit the bed? And I sat there and I watched it, and I was entertained the entire time. Now, have I ever watched it a second time? No. Have I ever purchased anything from the film? I think I have a Justice League Batman figure. But other than that, I am in the exact middle ground. It's just okay. Should it have been a better film? Of course. This is the Justice League. You know, this is a team that has been around technically longer than the Avengers, and for a while was far more popular in the public eye. People say, well, the Avengers has always been... No, folks. The Avengers has not always been this A-list team that everybody and their cousin was going out to support. If you go back to the end of the 90s, you had an Avengers cartoon that didn't even have Captain America in it. So, I mean, that branding wasn't really a thing. But the Justice League, ever since that cartoon came out, even before then, you just had this very strong Justice League presence. And that was the movie we got, and it could have been better. So I'm in the boat of it can't be worse. So, you know, entertain me. But I don't like this whole, 6-episode thing where they're trying to look. It's just a movie. Just release a long cut and let the people digest it the way they want. I don't want to have to wait 8 weeks to watch this shit or 6 weeks to watch it. It's like, here's the Snyder cut and here's a cut of a movie. You know, movie theaters don't get, there aren't serials anymore that you come back and watch each week. You kind of get your experience and you go. So that's what I'm hoping we get out of this.
And I can empathize with that. I totally understand and agree to a point, but I can also see it from their angles. It's kind of the trade-off. And I think Ryan gets what I'm saying. Is like, okay, yeah, we're not going to get this as a movie dropped like in one spot. And obviously AT&T is using this as something to get people on board with HBO Max. But the trade-off is they're getting the Snyder cut, so.
Well, that's what they're going to be. They have this built-in social media machine. When you look at, HBO Max and how it's trended over the past, basically a couple months, even after they released this or announced release the Snyder Cut, it has been astronomical. They have a built-in fan base that will promote for them every week that this drops, every week for 6 weeks. And I think they see that, and that's going to be part of it. Preston Pooper. But I think that, to me, I'm not here to convert anybody to be a fan of this, because if you're not a fan of it, I get it. To me, when Man of Steel and BVS came out, it was refreshing to me because I was kind of MCU'd out at the time, even in 2013. And what I saw Justice League and Suicide Squad was a big reaction from Warner Brothers. Like, oh, well, we just need to make it like Guardians of the Galaxy and like Avengers. And that's what happened. You made two kind of crappy Guardians, like a crappy Guardians movies and a crappy Avengers movie. And I think there's so many people out there that wanted something different then. I think now MCU fatigue has really set in, and people want that even more. Look at the reaction to like a show like The Boys, right? The kind of reception that got. Now, again, these aren't known characters. This is a different universe, but I feel like Snyder's vision right now, I think people will be a little more receptive to it now than they were even 4 or 5 years ago.
What's sad is I never had a problem with anything but Man of Steel and Superman himself. And then, of course, BBS in theaters was just unwatchable. But, I mean, that was my only issue with Snyder, was he shouldn't have been the one to handle Superman first. But once he got his hands on Batman, I was all on board. And that's where I think that, and I hope and fingers crossed, like we were kind of talking, like, I think a lot of people would be on board with Affleck coming back. I mean, if he really wanted to, and I think that's what, you know, you and I were kind of getting back and forth about, was that's really what it's going to boil down to, is if Ben says yes. Because I do think AT&T has been in talks with him. If not, they plan on it. I think they have.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute, because to me, that's the most interesting thing, where you have a new actor coming in to take over the reins of Batman. And then there's now a backdoor possibility that the old guy might come back, and we're going to have two Batman universes. That's going to be, I think it's going to be a little much, even though we live in a post-MCU world where alternate realities are becoming a thing. I think two Batmans on screen might confuse people.
I'm not sure we'll get two Batmans.
Well, we have two Jokers, though.
Yeah, see, that's the one thing that they'll use as an argument for the one. Yeah. But the other side of it is, if the rumors we're hearing about the Pattinson movie is true, they haven't filmed that much.
No, they haven't. They've put a lot of. They have to have put a lot of money into all the pre-production, though.
Yeah, but think about how that they can shift that over to an Affleck feature if they wanted to.
Yeah, the thing, and we talked about this a little in DMs, Tom, was Affleck. He gave an interview a couple months ago, basically, you know, really coming clean about his alcoholism and all the issues. And one of the things he directly brought up was the drama with the Joss Whedon reshoots of Justice League, and how that really made him dive even further into his drinking and his depression. And when it came to the Batman, he had a buddy tell him, listen, I think this is a badass script, but if you have to do this again, you're gonna kill yourself. That's essentially what they said.
How much you want to bet? No, I'm just kidding.
Kevin, no, he was probably like, oh, do it, bro. That's amazing. That's the best.
You gotta do it. I just came all over the script.
Oh! yeah. But so I think I would love to have Ben Affleck back. I love his iteration of Batman. I don't know if he's got it in him. I think Zack Snyder, he would come back for Zack Snyder more than maybe anybody else. But I just don't know if it's going to happen.
I think between that and if they let him do his script, I think that was the thing that really kind of pissed him off, is when they went and said, okay, you're the producer now on BBS. You're the guy that's heading all this shit up. You're going to be doing Batman. Not only are you doing Batman, you're doing your own movie. And you're directing it and everything. And then he took that shit all away from him. I mean, you got to think about how that probably affects somebody.
Yeah.
I mean, this is Ben Affleck. This is Academy Award-winning filmmaker, guys. I mean, you can make all the fucking jokes you want about Ben Affleck you want, but this is the guy that wrote fucking Good Will Hunting. This is a guy who is arguably one of the last well-known movie stars who you can probably bank on still. Yeah. I mean, he makes shit that people are interested in. Yeah, he's not a Nolan, but you know what? He's made a lot of movies now that have kind of like shown that this guy's got the chops. Yeah, he's done a lot of stupid shit with the J-Lo business and the drinking, all that shit. But you know what? I think he's earned it. I think he's earned all the respect of everybody, regardless of how you feel about him, period, in the part. He's shown us that he can do it. I think he deserves a Batman movie. If anybody could make us a kick-ass Batman movie besides Snyder, it's got to be Ben Affleck. Have you seen some of his other movies? I mean, I've seen Argo. And shit like that. I mean, The Town.
The thing is, Tom, you're not really saying anything I disagree with. I'm looking at it.
I know. But
I'm looking at it from the whole, like, if you're Warner Brothers, what the hell is your plan? Because this is the same trap that they fell into.
Well, that's kind of who I'm directing it to, is like, how can these motherfuckers treat him like this? I would go to drinking too.
That's the thing. That's been the problem the whole time. Warner Brothers hasn't had a damn plan for literally, well, I mean, they had one, but they didn't stick to it. For 7 years of this universe, they've not had a plan. Now, I think Joker was complete luck. I think Warner Brothers stayed almost completely out of it because they didn't think it was going to be anything. They had barely any money invested in it because other studios were investing too. I think Joker was a fluke.
It was, absolutely.
And I think that, now listen, whatever you think about Zack Snyder, Snyder's hands are all over the Wonder Woman movie and the Aquaman movie. Those are both different tones, but both him and Deborah Snyder were heavily involved in Wonder Woman and Aquaman. You've heard Jason Momoa and I forget who the director is. James Wan, is that it? For James Wan for Aquaman, talking about how that is like they were using Zack's vision for the future for that movie, not the post Justice League Joss Whedon cut. When they made it, they were focused on the BVS and what Snyder had kind of like helped them build. And he is a producer on that movie. But it's just, I don't know, man. You got so many people talking. I don't think that they're going to. I think this is a possibility that you could see some things go back to kind of Snyder's version, but at the same time, I think that's a pie in the sky dream for someone like me. I don't know if everybody else is going to be down with that. And at the end of the day, I think AT&T is going to do whatever they think gets them more money and try to do that because they're not worried about their past mistakes that Warner Brothers has made. That's not their problem. They don't have to cover their ass. Warner Brothers can suck it up.
Well, yeah. I wonder if there's a third option where there's a hybrid of sorts with Snyder Vision, that fan base, all sorts of things. You can kind of roll it into one and move forward. Because if anything, the Marvel movies have shown that you can get to a logical end point. Fans will be happy, and then they'll either want to move to something else, or they'll just be like, "Hey, we're here, for this genre." And DC's got to get it together because I think like you just said, Joker was a fluke, a one-off. It was awesome, cool. Will it ever happen again with any character? I don't know. Cecil has some cool ideas where he talks about how each villain should get their own film, and then you kind of build into this new Batman world. I think that's a cool concept, but I also think that is, it's big dreaming from a comic book fan. I just don't know where Warner Brothers is going to take this, or if they're going to. I don't want to say dilute their brand because this is all about the streaming service, and that's awesome. They want people to come in, they want them to sign up and buy in right away. Fine. But like, what else? Are we completely done at the movie theaters? Are we completely done with all this stuff? Because there are DC fans out there that are going to be waiting on these next films, and without a direct plan, I think people are going to lose interest or lose trust and faith in the DC IP.
You want to know how you do this and really maximize and capitalize on it? And then this is, of course, just dreaming bullshit. But you bounce off of the Joker, and you set it up that is the actual Joker in the Batman universe. The one that is played by Jared Leto is actually Jason Todd. You can tie both those movies together because time-wise they sync up.
Okay, I kind of like that.
And if you look right there, and I think they said it wasn't, but there is the bullet wound on Robin's armor in BVS. There's a similar wound on Joker right there as well. So they could definitely make that connection.
I always thought he was the Jason Todd Joker. I was waiting for him to reveal it that way because even though Leto and Affleck are close in age, they don't seem like it on screen. And I'm sorry, Margot Robbie's only, 26, 7, 8, whatever, maybe pushing 30. So, yeah, she's not near, and there's never been that big of an age gap between the Joker and Batman. Usually the Joker is older than Batman.
Well, and the thing is, so I think specifically with Snyder's Justice League, and we've seen this all with like how everything was teased, like all the different characters and cameos he had coming into this world, like intentionally. You saw Ryan Choi's Adam character. You're not going to see him in his suit or anything, but you see his character introduced. Martian Manhunter, like that wasn't filmed. I don't know if they're going to be able to get that for this since they said they're not going to do any additional shooting. But Martian Manhunter is Harry Lennox. They could have that
specifically say there was going to be no additional shooting because
they did. Umberto Gonzalez made that report that there's going to be no additional reshoots. He
said that, but did he specify who said that?
That's just what he said. His report said. Now, Zach just retweeted the other day, I think yesterday, he retweeted Harry Lennox, who had some awesome tweet. He's like, in regards to the Snyder Cut, things don't just happen, things happen just. Right. And then he like retweeted that, right? So he did try to draw a little attention to it. But
I do think they are going to do some additional shooting. And this is just.
I know Zach wants to. Because he wants to film that scene.
Well, there's more than that. Well, yeah, because I was going to say we know that there's at least a good 15 or 20% of the movie that did not get finished. I mean, we have to say this because I know this for a fact because I've done more than enough research on it. And Whedon said flat out when he came on board and took over, there was only 80% of the movie shot. But that's more than enough to work with. That's the point. It was a workable work print. And that's kind of what he was getting at. Like, there was a movie there, but it just wasn't what they wanted. But it needed the like 2 or 3 additional scenes or whatever it was. And one of them, I think, yes, was the Martian Manhunter scene and stuff like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
One other one that's been teased is from Zach. There's only 2 scenes that I know he wanted to shoot. One was the Martian Manhunter scene, which is fucking nothing. That's a quick scene. And then 2 was a scene involving Clark, Bruce, and Lois. That is what I know. He said that he never got shot, that he wanted to get shot. But back to like connecting everything, Sam Benjamin, 100% is the Green Lantern in this movie. Now, I don't think you're going to see him in costume, but his character is introduced. You could use this as a launching point for streaming service shows. They already have Jeff Johns' Green Lantern that's just dead in the water because Jeff Johns doesn't know how to run a freaking TV show or a movie. But you could use that to launch into different streaming shows to maybe bring them into movies if you wanted to, or just have it on the streaming. I don't know, but there's definitely potential with this because of how Zack Snyder dropped all these little characters in there.
Well, and to go off of what you were saying before, Jeff, about having so many different versions, they've kind of already tested that ground with the CW show. Like, they've kind of basically already tied in the fact that there is this big, huge multiverse, including the Snyderverse, basically. And yeah, so I mean, there is this possibility. They've set it up kind of that, I mean, Ryan might be onto something. I mean, we may not get a continuum with all the big stars, but, they may not make a Flash movie, but we might get a Flash, like, miniseries on HBO Max after this or something, or something to that effect. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
it could very well kind of spawn off this whole other Snyderverse. Now, again, I don't want to get anybody's hopes up about it all becoming a theatrical thing and it taking back over and them going back to the Snyderverse for the DCEU, but it's not off the fucking table now. A week ago, I would have said don't count on it. That's about where I'm at right now. I can say that much with at least some confidence. Now,
when do you think AT&T or Warner Brothers or anybody, the producers, when do you think they really took an interest in this? Because I know you mentioned when he was, dropping little nuggets here and there back in 2018 in November, but like, when do you guys
2019 November is when this became a thing, and that was because of The Mandalorian, plain and simple.
Well, yeah, so I do think The Mandalorian had a ton to do with this, the fact that they needed this stuff for HBO Max. But
and then, like you were saying, Ryan, they had a built-in.
Yeah, so in 2019 is when the anniversary of Justice League's release, the 2-year anniversary. All through the week, they were paying honor to a different character from Justice League. The Release of Snyder Cut fandom was, and Release of Snyder Cut was trending basically all week. And then on the anniversary, Zach came out, said release the Snyder Cut. Ben Affleck came out, said release the Snyder Cut. Ray Fisher, Jason Momoa, Gal Gadot, all tweeted release the Snyder Cut, and it trended #1 for almost 24 hours. It was insane. That is when Zach and Deb got the call that said, hey, it's pretty obvious that people are interested in this. Is there any way we could make something happen? What would it take? And they thought about it. They put together a presentation. And in February, I think February 8th of this year is when they screened it to AT&T and Warner Brothers. So that's.
And I think the fact that Ben tweeted that out says a lot.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
I really do. I mean, if anybody, right, and like I said, a week ago, I would have said no fucking way. I mean, like, my sources were saying this shit, but I'm starting to think my sources, and again, this is how you go to, there's 2 sides to every story. Andre was hearing a few things, I was hearing a few things, and he's like, well, I've been hearing this shit about Affleck. I'm like, well, I just found this article, and I just heard this other deal from somebody else. I don't know what the fuck's going on. He's like, maybe there's something to it. I'm like, get it in there, man. So we got it in the last one, and this is going to be something that's going to continue on, and the fact that there's this resistance from inside is kind of strange, but I feel like we're just kind of seeing the beginning of it. Because that whole deal with the Snyder Cut T-shirt guy in Harley Quinn, that was to make fun of you guys.
Oh yeah,
I mean, most of you were well aware of that, but some people were like, "Oh, this is proof that it exists." It's like, no, you guys don't get it. These guys are making fun of you, because I flat out have heard it from people inside that have said, it's not going to happen. It'll never see the light of day. If people call about it, we just tell them, yep, we'll pass it on, and that's where it ends. You just tell them what they want to hear. AT&T made all the difference. Like Andre and I said years ago, and like Film Gob sadly cut me out of context saying, the only way this was going to happen is a change of regime of power, which happened with AT&T, and somebody needed to put the money in, and you're able to get everybody else on board. And that's basically what you had happen, on top of, like you were saying, a ton of fans get behind this. And that was a big push between Subway and all these other people. It really helped.
Yeah, and like, you know, kind of like you said, Tom, sources are just people, right? They're not robots. And just like you and me, we have different ways to approach things. So, and they might have different viewpoints of what's happening in the office at that given time. So I'm sure there is a lot of people that in Warner Brothers wanted to forget about the Snyder Cut, wanted to forget about anything that happened. I think a lot of people at the top didn't want to admit mistakes, and that trickled on down. And you know, like you said, AT&T came in and they have an attitude where we would like to make money, please. It seems like fans want this. What an absolute shock that a corporation be willing to do that. And at the end of the day, for me, it's been an incredible week. It really shows. I think it should show people that fans, your voice still can matter, right? It's not like AT&T is doing it out of the goodness of their hearts. You know, they're not doing it for the fans, but they realize that people are passionate about this and are willing to exchange money for it. That's all that so many of us have been asking for so long.
They understand the fundamental part of business, and that is make something that people want.
Yeah.
Period. You know, you make crap like Star Trek Discovery and Picard, and you wonder why nobody wants your Star Trek crap anymore. You know, you make stuff like the Snyder Cut, and hey, I'm not a fan, but you know what? I'm glad to see that Snyder's going to get to complete his vision, and I love to see the enthusiasm and the passion coming from that community. And sure, I've dealt with a few jerks in it, but you know what? I know guys like you and, you know, like Zodwriter and Fatal J and, you know, of course, President Abu Nas and all those guys. You guys are so passionate, and you listen, and you're understanding, and you care. You know, and that's the thing, is you're not out to hurt anybody's feelings. You're not out to make anybody's days bad. And the fact that there is a movement now, it's not a conspiracy. It's true. There is an inside movement to try and squash this, to try and make you guys feel like shit, to try and call out this narrative that, oh, it's a bad thing to listen to the fans. That's what Andre's next editorial is going to really zero in on, is after this first few drops of them, we've had every one of these access media fuckers basically touting the Warner Brothers line. Yeah, you can talk to my manager, 16-bit. His name's Andre. You know what he'll tell you to do? Kindly go fuck yourself. With your point of privilege. He does. I don't mean that to you personally, of course, 16-bit, but I mean to the Karens of the world.
I joined a Karen Facebook group the other day, and my life has been a lot happier. No, but so we've talked about this briefly on the international edition. By the way, folks, if you're enjoying this stream, we have over 1,246 people watching. So do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button to let us know that you enjoy the High Council. We'll be back each and every week with more High Council stuff. And it seemed like you guys wanted more international stuff. So I actually have been in contact with another YouTuber today. I don't know exactly what's going to come of it yet, but another big channel has reached out, and they want to, connect and do some stuff. So 2020 will be our big year of reaching out and having fun. But do you think, Tom, Ryan, and Mecca, now we had the joke from our friend Paul Feig talking about the 4-hour feed cut of Ghostbusters. Do you think this, and then this is the real question, do you think we're going to get a situation where let's just play the game where this is a huge hit? So the reality that we live in right now, folks in the chat, welcome to this alternate reality we got here through the multiverse, that the Snyder Cut is the biggest thing ever in terms of streaming. Like, people signed up, they couldn't even get onto it. The fucking servers crashed. Like, people were excited about this. This is the world we live in. What other movies do you think, this is a two-part question. First part, what other movies do you think are going to get into production based on fan, or what other things do you think are going to get made because of fan hype or fan interest? I know Jesse's a huge fan of Firefly. Do you think they would do something so stupid as to bring that show back because fans want it based on the Snyder Cut success? Do you think they'll bring back all sorts of other failed things or other prematurely ended shows because of this? Do you think this is going to set a precedent, maybe a positive precedent for the fans, where we get a new influx of "we almost got this and here we go" type of thing?
Well, I want to hear from Ryan and Mecca first, but I just got to say, did Feig already forget that he got a Feger cut or whatever?
Yeah, he already has
The
the director's
extended cut on the Blu-ray.
Yeah.
But I just want to say, it's as much as a weirdness as that is, we've already been in this world before, because they used to let filmmakers make whatever movie they were going to want, and then they cut it for theaters and throw it out as unrated on DVD. In the early days of DVD, it was like a thing.
Yeah.
I kind of see that maybe coming back. But anyway, Mecca, what's your thoughts on that question?
Which ones do you think we'll get, or do you think we'll get more?
No, okay, and fine. It'll be a 3-part question. First, I'll answer, will there be more of these? And then part 2, what do you think will be some of the films?
Yeah. I think they will do a few more. Well, look at Sonic. They already did it with Sonic, where they redesigned it. So maybe they'll go in and fix cats, and maybe they will go in and release the butthole cut. Hopefully, just so we can laugh at it. Yeah, I think they might. I'm kind of curious to see, like, as far as TV, if they give us what Brian Fuller was supposed to do with Star Trek Discovery, because it can't be any worse than what we got.
But I do think, right? I do think that one of the reasons you're seeing all of these hit pieces, this is a slippery slope, because so many people are realizing now, especially the access media, that this could mean that fans have power. And that's not what they want, right? They want to be the ones to be inside and dictate and have anything to do with these corporations. And the idea that fans can have power scares them, in my opinion. I think that this could be a very positive thing. Now, the first thing off my head, obviously, the Ayer cut. They're really talking about that a lot, and that what David Ayer's original plans were for Suicide Squad tie very heavily into Zack Snyder's Justice League. So that kind of makes a lot of sense that could happen. But I don't know if I have like any others specifically on my mind right now, but you're going to see people like Paul Feig take advantage of this moment. And you're also going to see things like we're going to talk about a little later, like, what is it called? Make Solo 2 happen. Just all this stuff. Those are very different things. There have been literally 0 people asking for, the Ghostbusters 2016 extended edition.
Well,
just being Andre, just to torture Rob.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas for 2.5 years, you had people calling for the Snyder Cut. And then with Make Solo 2 happen, that would be, hey, this movie that lost money for you, let's start from scratch right now. We have no plans to make it, but let's just make an entire movie, hundreds of millions of dollars. Whereas the Snyder Cut is already so much has been put into it. It's a different animal to create something, but I definitely think it's going to set a precedent, and that people are going to start looking at this and look at what fans want. And if we pay them back, just like we did with Sonic, if we go to the box office, if we support HBO Max for supporting fans, then they will support us. This reciprocal relationship, like it's supposed to be.
That was very well put, Ryan, I think. And my basic answer is yes and no. I think the Ayer cut is something that will probably happen, because that is something we've heard rumblings about. As far as like a lot of other films being recut like this and put out like this, not unless it's something that's older and they want to continue a relationship with the director and they didn't. Because let's put this into perspective. This is such an unprecedented thing that's happened that there's only like 2 examples prior to this where this has ever kind of happened to this extent. And that being the Richard Donner cut, ironically, for Superman 2. And the other time I can think of is the Paul Schrader cut of Exorcist 4. Those are the only 2 times in history where I can think of basically where they went and re-released the complete alternate version of a film where another director had worked on it. So this will be the 3rd time that I can think of. If somebody else can think of another, please tell me. But those are the only 3 times that I can think of something like this actually happening. So the possibility of it happening now, you're going to have a problem with like a Solo cut, like Paul
Lord and Miller. Yeah.
Like a Lord Miller cut, don't expect it because you got too many butthurt people that are involved with that. And that's the other thing I was going to bring up too is you got to imagine that Warner or at least AT&T looked at it and said, you know what, we'd rather be in the Snyder business than we are in the Whedon business, unless Whedon's just like, I don't give a shit, it wasn't my movie to begin with. Because that's the one person besides the DCEU people who are going to be butthurt by this. You know, and honestly, I don't think he's that invested in it that he gave a shit. I'll be 100% clear with that, so I really don't think he's a factor. But when it comes to like Solo and shit, Lord and Miller, you'll never get to see their cut until Kathleen Kennedy's gone, till all the big people up there are gone. You're not going to see this across the board too often. I wouldn't expect. Now, what you will see, why I brought up the whole unrated cut thing, is you may see going forward a lot more people going like, oh yeah, go nuts. And the theatrical version is going to be cut to 2 hours, and then we'll just give you the extended cut on Netflix or on HBO Max or on Disney Plus or whatever. Because I mean, look at even like Hateful Eight. They did that on Netflix, and they're talking about doing the same thing for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where it'll just be like an extended miniseries. So we've already seen this. They let Tarantino do it with Hateful Eight on Netflix, kind of. But I mean, that was kind of pre-set up that way. But I think that could be something that down the road we start seeing something like that. But again, unless it's like a random thing, like if Fincher decides, yeah, you know what, I'm going to revisit Alien 3. I don't see it happening unless it's a movie that's 20, 30 years old and anybody who's butthurt is gone. Or anybody who could be butthurt is gone. The only place I see this is going to be unique, like we'll see maybe the Air cut. And I don't know if there's really anything else outside of that we can see unless they just go forward with maybe giving us some, like I said, some mini-series movies here and there with like Flash maybe, or a spin-off of Suicide Squad or something like that.
That's the thing, man, is it requires these people to swallow their pride and say, yeah, you know what? The reason you didn't get this originally is because we messed up. And that's just not going to happen in Hollywood unless you have this specific situation with AT&T or with a new regime coming forward. Like you said, with Kathleen Kennedy gone. So, I 100% am on board with that. I don't think it's going to be something that happens super often, but we'll see going forward. I think it could be. I'm hoping that it can maybe just start to move the wagon forward as far as, giving some more respect to the fans when they do these things, instead of, the old Hollywood, like these elitists saying, oh, well, you want that, but we know what you need. No, give me what I want, bro. Like, just give me that. You
just have to be grateful. You're just an ungrateful, entitled fan. I got that today on a video when I was complaining about the freaking Paul Feig and Ghostbusters crap and them demanding our money for another version. Somebody's like, "Oh, you guys are just entitled fans for not liking this. How can you not know that this is a movie for children?"
Don't be surprised if a Norwegian company that you've never heard of before injects some money to make the Feiger cut happen.
Frick, I'll get a GoFundMe started.
Well, like that's the situation where they've filmed all of that, right? Like that. You
gotta edit it.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm just joking because I'm sure Andre would love to see that happen just for the fun of it.
Mm-hmm.
We'd love it just to see it happen.
I'd watch it for the hell of it.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't.
I watch it for the hell of it.
Oh, we're forcing Rob to watch it, but what version depends on if this Feiger cut happens or whatever. Cut.
We have a year plus to wait for this, correct? This is late 2021 that this is coming out.
I don't know the specifics, but yeah, do you, Ryan?
We just know 2021. I am pretty convinced that if not for this whole pandemic, that we may have seen it in late 2020, to be quite honest, because I don't think that's going to require a ton of time. Let's be real. Between March 2017 and November 2017, they reshot the entire movie and added visual effects to Justice League.
Well, you got to remember what we're dealing with right now, and then the time it's going to take to get this done. I think 2021, at least summer, is probably the best.
That's probably what I think. Maybe the year anniversary or something might be what they shoot for. But nobody can work right now in a lot of ways. So, I think that definitely and we even heard that due to that, a lot of this almost didn't happen the way it did. The fact that no one can work right now.
No, but I think you also brought up a good point, Ryan, that 20 to 30 million is basically what we've been saying all along this is going to take to finish this. But not only that, in this instance, it makes sense. Because look, like you said, how much they spent on Mandalorian. Look how much they spent on Star Trek Discovery and Picard, for that matter. We heard upwards of $400 million for that fucking series on Picard.
Oh my God. What?
Yeah.
Why?
How is that possible?
Because they wanted to do a shot of Borg getting sucked down into the vacuum of space, despite the fact that Borg can survive the vacuum of space. Oh.
Well, speculatively, we heard rumors that they were funneling some of the money into Discovery, but that would be highly illegal, so we don't know anything about that.
Well, they've done a lot of shady things, in my opinion. So.
Well, and technically it's the same production company, so I'm sure they could do it legally without it mattering. But anyhow, we're not going to get into that crap because that's not related to this. But it is in the sense that it's nice to see this is no big thing. $20-30 million for this. Look at what Netflix spends on some of their shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, the part about that though is a lot of the Netflix shit where they're spending a lot of this money, it doesn't always look that great. And with the film like the Justice League, I think I paid to see it in what was it? Something not Dolby Digital or something. I paid for some higher tiered ticket. I mean, these movies, there's Justice League, Avengers, Batman, Spider-Man, James Bond. They're all meant to be seen bigger.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Dolby Atmos sounds one I saw? Do you think this is gonna, if this is the future of like we're gonna dust off older things or we're gonna use this to anchor our streaming service? Do we think all of these factors combined with our buddy Corona, do you think all these things are really going to tank our big spectacle films? Like, and this is just going to be another nail in the coffin for, $200-300 million pictures, and you go out and see it with 250-500 people in a giant auditorium?
I wouldn't jump to that conclusion yet, but it opens up several doors. And I wouldn't even be surprised if this doesn't get some limited theatrical releases when it's all said and done. Because like Andre said, they'll show it in the 6-part miniseries, but then they'll slap it together as all one movie, so you can watch it all in one shot.
Yeah, I would be shocked if eventually we didn't at least have a Blu-ray of it.
Oh yeah,
after a year and a half of HBO Max exclusive, obviously that's what they're pouring this money in there for. But
exactly. But yeah, part of the reason to have it over a series of like 6 parts is, you can show one part a week, and you keep people on for more than a month. It's business. It makes sense, and I get it. And I think it's fair to say that's the trade-off to get things you enjoy. I don't care. I bought the year of Disney Plus. I'm pissed. I signed up for the year of HBO Max. I haven't seen it yet, but just from what I've got from HBO now, I'm not as pissed because HBO has a lot more shit on it, even in some ways, than what fucking Disney does. Because I have 90% of what's on Disney Plus already. So it's kind of a waste of time for me. And I mean, at least HBO has a lot more original programming and stuff. And I know once HBO Max opens, I'm going to be in fucking heaven. Because I've got Looney Tunes on Blu-ray and all that shit. But you know what? I'm going to be able to watch all the Batmans and stuff and all that stuff that I have on Blu-ray and stuff like that still. But they're going to have other things that I haven't seen in years. And I know that because Warner Brothers has such an amassed library. And they're going to have so much more shit because they are going to want to just make Disney look like crap. I have a feeling they are going to be a much bigger player now because of this specifically than we even thought they may have been a couple months ago.
They do it.
So I want to chime into what Jeff's question was about losing the quality of these big budget, cinematic masterpieces for the sake of gearing everything towards streaming. And when you look at something like HBO Max, I think that's why HBO Max is set up to do what they say they want to do and crush Netflix and be the new, the game changer in town. Because look at the assets they already have. You're talking about someone like a studio like Netflix that started out as a DVD library. Literally, was this a remote DVD library, and they built themselves from that into a production company. They kind of went backwards in a way to how you would think about going about making a film. They started with the product first, sold everyone else's product, made enough money to now create their own stuff. But something like HBO Max, so you're talking about you've got the Warner Brothers Studios behind it. You have a gigantic studio lot that takes up a giant chunk of Burbank with your practical sets, your back lot, your front lot, your sound stages. You have access already to the ability to make things look nicer. When Netflix is starting out making their own stuff, I don't know what their studio setup was like, but they're dealing with permits for shooting on location. So they're having to deal with, if they wanted to shoot someplace bigger, either paying more in permit fees or paying less and working with a knockoff location. They're not attached necessarily. They don't own their own special effects studios. They don't have those assets, so it costs more to go out and get them. Now, when you already have these assets under your belt, I mean, even the simplicity of gigantic sound stages and a backlot that you don't need to work with a separate studio over finding the time for, you have the opportunity to spend less to create a higher level of quality. So, a high level Netflix piece from a few years ago is going to, HBO Max could spend a quarter of that money and producing it looks as good. So they spend the same amount of money. Now you have your higher budget, nicer pieces. So I think the thing that's really going to suffer more than anything is just the theater going experience. You can create that same experience at home. Now you can maybe sell accessories or get into bed with places that create home entertainment systems. You bring the movie theater to you. And I think
it's just going to suck though for people like us, where we have a time where we can be as loud as we want. We can't turn on let's have a midnight viewing of Star Wars and blow up the speakers. We're stuck with all that, the limitations.
No, she's 100% correct, but you're also 100% too correct. So there's the two conflictions here. The problem is like other studios, unlike HBO and Disney, don't necessarily have the facilities to just go make shit. That's a great point. Netflix, they gotta license out a lot of stuff, where that's the whole reason why they get stuff like Beverly Hills Cop 4 brought in. They pay for it, but it's almost like a negative pickup in a way, to where the producers are going to go out, produce it, they're going to make it through Paramount, but then they'll just bring it and they'll pay for it. You know what I mean? It's kind of it's funky how that works, but that's a great point that Jesse brought up, is they've got all the facilities right there to do this. I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal to put this together outside of just the pandemic problem right now and getting everybody together. And the best part is it sounds like everybody's already on board, so it don't matter.
Yeah. That's and I guess I'll address the thing. I do think that that's one of the streaming wars, right? These whole things started because these places see this capability that a lot of people would rather just stay at home. Let's be real. At the end of the day, Avengers Endgame made what? How much money did that make in theaters? 2.7, 2.9?
Yeah, 2.7 and change billion, I believe.
Right. And how much did Avatar make? One forgettable movie with great special effects.
Yeah, it only, I looked this up today because I was working on my next video about Scott Mendelsohn. It's like $7 million difference or something stupid. Hold on, I'll get the exact numbers so I don't sound like I'm pulling it out of my ass. But yeah, it was something real low.
Exactly. And that's, and when I look at that, I look at something like Avengers Endgame, and I have a lot of problems with the movie, but this is the biggest event we've ever seen. Let's be real. At least probably in our lifetimes, the biggest build up to it. It should have absolutely destroyed Avatar. They needed an extended release just to beat Avatar.
Well, to be fair, Avatar extended itself to in release as well, though.
Yeah.
All the James Cameron movies, though, did that. I think that's one thing a lot of people forget. It's like, hey, Titanic came back.
By ticket sales comparison, it's neither one of them are even still up there. They're still well beat by like Gone with the Wind and Star Wars and a few other movies. But no, the problem you have is the studios are never going to spend less. Hollywood doesn't spend less. They don't know how to do that. They never have. So what'll happen is, the problem is the theaters, as much as some people hate to go to them and as expensive as they are, they're kind of the only padding we have between us and the studios right now. And the studios will take us for whatever ride they can. And what I mean by that is, the reason why it costs you $15 to get into a movie and $20 for a bucket of popcorn and $6 for a soda is because the studios amortize all those costs to the theaters. They take 80%, 90% of the opening weekend box office, so the theaters don't see dick. And then by the time the movies start actually getting any money for them, nobody's watching them anymore, and they've shrunken the window on theaters and backed the theaters into a corner so much that basically the theaters are starting to fight back. And that's where we've seen the whole thing with, like, the theaters like, fuck you, Universal, we're not going to carry your movies if you're going to have them on streaming at the same time, because they know it's going to kill their business. But they also know that just because theaters aren't in the best of shape right now, the studios can't afford to just go jump straight to streaming, because you're killing at least 2 or 3 different revenue streams when you do that. You're killing the first revenue stream, which is the theaters. You're killing the rental revenue stream, and then you're killing the ancillary Blu-ray stream and when people buy it digitally. So there's 2 areas, or at least, that you're going to destroy. And then on top of that, how many people are going to be willing to pay $100 to rent the next Avengers movie? Because that's what's going to happen.
Well, the fucked up part, though, Tom, is they're in the worst position to try to convince you to do this. Like, if this switch would have happened, let's say 2 years ago, so Infinity War was the last big theatrical release, and everyone's like, I'm just going by my personal experience, but I'm riding high. I'm walking out of that movie. What did I just watch? That was the greatest superhero movie, X, Y, and Z. I'm riding on cloud 9. If you would have told me the next year, Jeff, you have to pay $100 to watch this movie, I probably would have been an idiot, a dumb enough idiot to do it because I was so invested. But because we're at the end of it, there's all this goodwill. Like you said, I think it was Ryan that just said a minute ago, we've never seen anything like this in our lifetime. Will we ever see it again? I don't know. If you would have said to us 10 years ago, well, Avatar will never be beat at the box office, and I do have the numbers just for the record. So Avatar was bested by Avengers Endgame by a margin of $7 million and some change, because it's $2,797,800,564 for Avengers and $2,790,439,000 for Avatar. So we're real close.
Yeah, and that's Avatar's a very average movie that was,
and it also played for a fucking year.
It did, and I had stuff we'd never seen before. But at the end of the day, this was a 10-year build up to Avengers Endgame, man. Like, what a huge event, and for it just to crack that, I think that does go to show a little bit that, and that's even with inflated ticket prices now versus then. I think it shows that a lot of
it needs to be said.
It
needs to be said. Theater going is down. It's way down. Yeah. But last year, due to Disney, they had the biggest year ever for revenue. They made $42 billion, and a big chunk of that was because of The Lion King, Aladdin, and Avengers.
And Rise of Skywalker.
Well, that was even before Rise of Skywalker came out.
Yeah.
I mean, they had announced that they had the biggest year ever, even though they
Chosen two.
Yeah. And it's, speaking of big things, we have the historian himself here, the minister of the Fandom Menace, author Stephen Walton.
Hail the High Council, hail the chat, hail my brothers and sisters. How are you? How's everyone? Thank you again for inviting me to have a few words on this show, the flagship program of the Fandom Menace, where we have met every Tuesday night on this hollow ground to come together and commiserate about the state of our entertainment. And tonight we get to celebrate because the Snyder Cut is a thing. And I want to say that this whole situation is making it to the Fandom Menace Volume 2. This is a microcosm of all the problems we have had with entertainment. You have people that are anti-fan, that are actually upset, that are saying the most absurd things. If a fandom gets what they want, if the customer gets what they want, we are labeled toxic fans because we love these entertainment properties, because we love these franchises. We are toxic for our love of these things? No, the toxic ones are the repurposers, the ones who want to take these franchises and use them as a platform to espouse propaganda, hateful rhetoric, and bullshit. Those that want to separate us, those new crowd people that want to come in and point the finger at us with ists and isms and phobes and all kinds of crazy ass accusations. Our fandoms have always been inclusive. We have always had infighting. Every geek has had a different opinion on something. This is something that has always existed. But for the Snyder Cut fans, for the people who wanted to see this movie, this is a win for all the fandoms. This is the first time in a while that one of these companies has actually recognized the want of the customer and supports it. I am proud. I am happy. I am elated for my Snyder Cut friends in the fandom, and I cannot wait to see this movie. I can't wait to back it, whether it's a movie or a series or whatever they do with it. This is a win for the fandom. Hail. Whew.
Amen, sir.
I dig it.
I'm so happy you're here. If you guys out there love to hear from the minister himself, even if it's just once a week here on the High Council, do let us know in the comments and in the chat, and we can make that happen. And you can shill, sir. You can absolutely shill.
Thank you, Jeff, for letting me on here, even though I'm really yelly.
I love to have you, man.
Hi, everybody. This is the Fandom Menace Volume 1, first edition. It is only going to be available for a short time. I put it back on the market because the fans asked for it. and we are a customer movement. We are a consumer movement. So the Phantom Menace Volume 1 is back. It's on Indiegogo. It's in demand. Check it out. Buy it if you want. And if you can, I understand we're going through some really tough times right now. If you would consider sharing it, I would be greatly appreciative of that.
I'm on that.
And if you can't do it, if there's nothing you can do and you really want this book, don't worry, because the Phantom Menace Volume 2 will be coming out soon. In the Phantom Menace Volume 2, I've got wonderful people working with me. I got a foreword by John Talks. I've got Jesse Milestone writing a chapter. Lord Doomcock has written a chapter. I've got Stephanie Janicek, Smuggler's Cantina, and Carrie Howard have both added their words as a representative of the original trilogy purist fandom and a person in the trans community who doesn't want to be used as a freaking shield by these ideologues who are giving us terrible entertainment. I've also got chapters on Mecha Random 42, the Queen of the Phantom Menace, Hail the Queen, and the Gospel According to Mark with a C, someone that I've been a fan of for a long time. So Volume 1 will be available when the Indiegogo for Volume 2 starts. I'm looking forward to that. And if you can't get it then, you're going to get able to get them both when Volume 3 comes out, where I have wonderful people working with me on that book, such as Jeff Hicks from World Class Bullshitters, Gary Nerdrotic, and Comics Division. So I'm looking forward. This year is going to be a great year for the Phantom Menace. We're going to have our books coming out, documenting who we are, what we stand for, standing up against repurposers, and for the love of these franchises that we have held in our hearts for years. Thank you.
Ooh, I love it. So I want to address some of the super chats because tonight there's a lot to talk about. Tom, I say that every week. And it's like, no, but seriously, this whole Luke Skywalker and this revisionist history shit. If I was quiet for a minute on the Snyder Cut, I was actually getting a few notes prepared. I'm angry, and we'll talk about that in a minute because you know me, when you change the shit I love for no apparent reason, I get kind of livid. So
you get a little cranky.
Yeah, just a little. It's not like I've ever done anything with it, but just a little. So first off, we have our friend. Wow. Okay, so YouTube changed their setup. How can I not read this one? The first one says, "All right, people, new drinking game. Anytime Jeff swears, take a shot." If you could tell me in the chat who said that, because it literally lets me read your message, it doesn't let me read who's it from. So I apologize.
It's still doing that.
It's still doing that.
That's crazy.
I know. I'd love to read it. So, like I said, I apologize to our friend.
Can only go so far back now, unfortunately. Yeah. Next time, I'll try and remember and I can start saving them from the start.
It's not Culture Casino because he just sent one in. But anyway, I want to. If he's in the chat still, thank you very much. I don't like to ignore the people that help support the channel.
Nah,
so
it's freaking YouTube.
Oh, Deadeye said it. He's right here in the chat. Deadeye said it. Thank you, awesome. Deadeye. There we go. The Hunky Chunky Funky Monkey, we haven't heard from you in a long time. He says, "No more reboots, remakes, sequels to 30-plus-year-old properties, or we riot or drink some beer. Either way is fine for me." I agree. I haven't had a beer in a while.
How about both?
Can we riot? I was going to say, can we riot while drinking?
Yeah.
Usually a riot ensues after drinking, but...
Yeah. Well, I mean, the remake that he's talking about right there is exactly what they're going to do to the Star Wars original trilogy. We all know that, Jeff. So get your beers ready.
Well, if you would have told me a few years ago rewriting Star Wars was going to happen, I'd be like, nah, you're full of shit. Look, these movies are bad, but they'll never touch the originals. Yep, I was wrong. And we'll talk about that in a moment. Our friend Space Monkey 0899, thank you very much. He says, "Hail the High Council." Hail you, Space Monkey. Thank you very much. Logan Michael Anti-Funko Pop asks, "How's everyone been?"
I've been freaking awesome this week. Snyder Cut's getting released.
Ryan's been great. He's still not playing Mario Kart all that well, though.
I listen. I'm to be honest, I'm okay at Mario Kart. I'm top half. And I didn't start out that way. I don't like to play that stupid bitch-ass game. I hate baby Nintendo games that Jeremy makes me play. But,
are you doing better than Drunk 3PO?
Well, I am a little bit, yes.
Okay, that's the important part. You've got to make sure to crush Jay. And you can tell him it's from me.
All right, I'll let him know.
So, are you guys playing on the Switch?
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we did every. Do you want to play?
Yeah, I gotta give Jeremy my friend code. Jesse and I play Mario Kart all the fucking time at the apartment.
Oh, dude, yeah, we play. So I host a stream on our Twitch channel every Sunday and Wednesday, and actually I think they're live playing right now. Tuesdays, Jeremy hosts. So yeah, man.
Yeah, those are fun. I got in on one of those on the very, very early ones, and I gotta talk my way back into those because I wasn't terrible. I came in second place, I believe, of everybody who was on, but I think we had some people who were, I don't know, just some random people from chat or something too. So I don't know. It wasn't like your regular team. So
Yeah, it's usually what we do is it's usually about 7 or 8 G&G members and then a couple people from chat.
yeah.
So, awesome.
It's fun.
Yeah, I mean, we love Mario Kart. We're gonna do a Twitch channel eventually, but I'm waiting for all the new consoles to drop and all that other shit because it's like I have all this stuff back in Ohio, but to get everything shipped out would cost a lot, and then there's really no games I'm playing on it right now. So
I keep getting dragged into those Twitch live streams that are playing over there, and I'm like very close to getting a Nintendo so that I can play with them, so I can play Mario Kart.
Mario Kart's really good though. It's fun.
I love that.
I recommend it.
I fucking hate it.
You love it, Ryan. You love it.
We have our friend Logan Michael says, "What else have we been up to?" Logan Michael, I think everyone's pretty happy. Ryan, I'm a little envious though because I miss the days where I could hear an announcement and get that excited. It's like, oh, Jeff, there's more Spider-Man coming out. Yay, but it's this version. Oh, there's more Bond. Yay, but it's this version. At least you're getting the new stuff of the version that you like. That'd be similar to me getting another Pierce Brosnan 007 flick. Then I'd be, I wouldn't even care. It could be the shittiest week in the history of the channel, and I'd be so happy because there's another Pierce Brosnan Bond flick. So,
yeah, man.
That's just me.
I hear you. I feel awesome about it. And like I said, I keep saying this, that we are all using our voices to talk about Star Wars. That's kind of how most of us came together, right?
Oh, yeah.
This should give us so much hope. Not that I think Disney's going to turn around and do anything right now, but like over time, if you are persistent, your voices can be heard.
Right.
And that's the important takeaway from this shit that some people don't understand. But I think the vast majority of people do and are celebrating it. So it's awesome.
Especially in contrast to everything that we've dealt with from these properties, the harassment that we get from their fans, their new fans, and then the Naughty Dog stuff that just happened. And then you turn around and you get fan appreciation, And another thing on the live stream I wasn't able to bring up was, a lot of people are attacking this whole situation, and nobody's thinking about the fact that, Snyder left that because he had a death in the family. So he's definitely got some kind of a probably emotional attachment to not being able to finish that film, but, amongst everything else that happened to him, God bless him. So this is, a win for him too. What happened to celebrating people when they get fans, when they get what they want, and people who overcome obstacles? I mean, it's very hard to get over a death in the family, especially if it's your kid, for Zack Snyder. So like I said, this is a win all the way around for all the fandoms. And like Ryan said, I know something might not change overnight at Disney Lucasfilm, but if companies realize that, hey, these guys are making money, what are they doing different? Oh, they're respecting the fandom. Maybe that'll cause a change.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think it's a great step. Just like Sonic, it's just one more step in the direction of fans getting power back.
I don't want them to overdo it, where we get like not Warner Brothers, but like some other company. It's like, we're going to give the fans what they wanted the most, a sequel to Surf Ninjas. It's like, what?
They're going to give us old He-Man with old Dolph Lundgren. Get ready for that.
Yeah. Or they'll make the Canon Pictures Spider-Man film or something like that.
You're gonna get some of this, just like Paul Feig come out there trying to take advantage of it. You're gonna see some of this shit now, especially fresh off the Snyder Cut. But at the end of the day, these corporations, they care about money.
Oh, Ryan, absolutely. And let them try and trend the Solo 2 hashtag or the Ghostbusters 3-hour edit. Let them trend that. Go ahead. Let those fandoms, those people that they attracted, let them fight for that. And, whatever. I mean, everybody has a right to an opinion. But do you think those will get made? I don't think so, because SJWs don't buy your product, guys.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I even made a video about that yesterday, because I was talking about how May 25th, the real Star Wars Day, not the fucking meme that Disney has made May the 4th. That's not Star Wars Day. That means literally nothing to Star Wars. May 25th is Star Wars Day, and
here.
Yeah, and like I said that we had this Make Solo 2 happen, and I said if they get enough people and they talk about it for long enough, then maybe it'll happen. Because that's what that passionate movement that was released to Snyder Cut, that's how it started. Are they going to keep saying this for the next 2.5 years? Are they going to keep wearing their shirts? I don't know. This is also for a movie that's yet to be produced at all. It's a different story, but hell, more power to you. If you're passionate about something, tell people.
Yep.
Mhm.
We'll talk about Solo 2 definitely in a minute, because that's yesterday I kept seeing it. I'm like, no, we can celebrate.
Jeff, you want it. You want it, Jeff. Come on, embrace it, buddy.
I'm not gonna say. We'll talk off air. We're friends now. Space Monkey 0899 says the High Council is never early, nor are they late. They arrive precisely when they are meant to. I like that. I like
How
that.
about precisely when they decide to? How about that?
All right. I like how we're never early, we're never late. Just right.
Mm-hmm.
We also have our friend Straight White Male who says Jeff has the best voice next to Dr. Savage. Thank you. Now, are you talking? Was his name Michael Savage, the radio guy, or like Doc Savage, the? Well, if it was Doc Savage, that would be a print character, so it wouldn't matter. So I guess you're talking about Michael Savage. Well, thank you very much, Straight White Male. Dr. Coffin now says that Ryan, please tell us how you feel about Dave Filoni's Clone Wars versus the EU, and don't forget to talk trash.
Oh God! All right. Well, we don't want this to last, 5 hours. So I'll just say that I know a lot of people enjoy the Clone Wars. I'm happy that you enjoy Clone Wars. You got to see some more Star Wars that you love. To me, for someone who read the expanded universe for so long, and I didn't like a lot of the things Dave Filoni decided to do with continuity. I didn't like the fact that General Grievous was turned into a literal bitch. The entire show is just him banging his chest and then running away. He gets defeated by Padawans. He is not a threat in that like he's supposed to be. I don't like the fact that it doesn't tie into the continuity of even the 2 movies, let alone the rest of the Star Wars world that was set up. When Anakin said, "My powers have doubled since we last met, Count," he wasn't talking about one of the 7 times that they fucking fought during Dave Filoni's Clone Wars. He was talking about Geonosis, because that's when they last fought. There are so many things I don't like about the Clone Wars. I don't think Ahsoka's a Mary Sue like some people do. I do think she's OP. I realize she's trained by Anakin Skywalker. Listen, she was a Padawan for 2 years. She should not be taking Darth Maul on at the end like she did. Absolutely 100%. I'm glad you enjoy it if you do enjoy it. I am not a huge fan. Continuity is bonkers within Dave Filoni's canon. I'll be interested to see when Bo-Katan comes to the Mandalorian in season 2 of the Mandalorian, and she takes her helmet off, and he's like, "Hey, wait, what? We don't take our helmets off." She's like, "Oh yeah, we do all the time." What's Dave Filoni? How is he going to answer that continuity?
Yeah, I was worried about that.
Sure. So I'm not. I think Dave Filoni is a cool creative guy. He doesn't give a shit about lore. He told EU fans to go F themselves because he got called out for making a mistake. He turned Colonel Yularen into Admiral Yularen because of the outfit he was wearing, because he didn't do his research. Not a big Filoni guy. That's all I'll say.
Boom. We'll be talking about re-ranking in just a minute. Don't worry. Keep that energy high. We have our friend Crazy Eye Jedi who says, do you think the Snyder Cut, the studio's making a slow U-turn back to just entertainment? Okay. I think we meant to say is, do you think with the Snyder Cut, the studios will make a slow U-turn back to just entertainment? I hope so, Crazy Eye Jedi, because I'm like, the only person I want to hear preach at me is author Stephen Holmes. Almost called you a doctor, excuse me. But, author Stephen Holmes is the only person I want to preach around here. I don't need a studio to tell me these things. Just, you're a studio. It's like, I don't need Coca-Cola to tell me about, I don't know, my Verizon phone plan or some shit. I don't need Coca-Cola to be worried about, all the hours I spend on my phone or something. You guys exist what you are. You're an entertainment company. Entertain me. Don't preach to me. That's all. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
We also have our friend David Dilks who sends in $5. No message. Thank you. Thank you very much, though, David. Osmosis says, First kick, two nuts was WW sold more Jim Lee. The first kick to nuts was Wonder Woman sold more Jim Lee t-shirts than the entire 52 reboot and Justice League movie. I saw Cap, Shield, and Wonder Woman shirts, red, white, and blue. The Justice League New 52, all that stuff over at DC, I thought was a big mistake. And I thought that the Warner Brothers, not the Warner Brothers, I felt like the Snyder stuff was a direct continuation of a lot of the New 52, which turned me off years prior. Are we all well-versed or at least know about the New 52?
Yeah, and I think it is clear that some elements of Justice League War, he definitely wanted to bring into that, and the Dark Side War and everything. I didn't hate it as much as a lot of people did. I love the Batman run, but I know some people aren't a big fan of the Justice League run of New 52, especially with the new Superman. Me and Tom have talked so much about a Man of Steel and like that iteration of Superman, and I think that's most people's problem with the Snyder's movies. To me, these are not Superman movies because he's not really Superman yet. You know, it's Superman Hour One.
Right.
And a lot of people, like I said, me and Tom talked about this a lot.
Yeah, because I get that argument, but I also don't agree with it 100% either. But yeah, I get you.
Yeah. And I to me, I heard Ray Fisher talking about this the other day, and he was like, "That's the wonderful thing about comic books and comic book movies are, you change writers, you change authors, you change continuities fairly often, and every one of them is kind of a slightly different version of the character." And you have ones you hate, you have ones you like. We can sit there and argue for hours and hours and hours about which Batman you prefer from the movies, or which Robin is your favorite from the comics. And to me, this Henry Cavill Superman in Man of Steel, I thought was so cool to see that, and knowing the 5-film journey he was going to go on to eventually become that icon Christopher Reeve type Superman with that kind of outlook. I was so invested in seeing that. And so that's what really turned me on to those movies.
Let's see. Crispy Critters, thank you very much. He says 6 episodes at $20 million is a good investment. It's weird to think that you can make 6 episodes of something for $20 million. Back in the day, what was it, Tom? Big budget movies were just, Star Wars was $11 million. So
Right. Like Ninja Turtles, I think cost like $10 or $12 million.
I think Empire Strikes Back original budget was 11 million, right? And then it got tripled throughout production to 33.
Yeah, it ended up getting 30 something. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the thing has already been made, right? You don't have to pay any actors. You don't have to pay anybody really other than visual effects people.
Mhm.
So,
Do you think they're going to have to reshoot any scenes for it? For continuity?
They've said that they are not going to at this point. That's the rumor, or that's the report, I should say. There will be no additional reshoots, only additional dialogue recorded. So it's going to be pretty small changes to things like that.
For the most part, I mean, here's the thing. Once you get somebody, once you do a lot of the digital stuff, that's where the voiceover work probably comes into, because a lot of times when they do their stuff, there's always some digital extension or something they're doing digitally anyway to the characters, to the point where they'll probably have them in the CGI version most of the time. And a lot of times, like Batman stuff, it's only Ben Affleck in the close-ups. Otherwise, it's his stunt double and shit.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, even if they do, and I have a feeling they'll do some minor reshoots, but I don't think it's going to be anything huge. But again, the no reshoots thing could be coming from the Warner camp. We don't know this yet.
Dr. Coffin Nails says, my main problem with BVS was who they cast as Luthor. I agree with you, Dr. Coffin Nails. I am not a Jesse Eisenberg fan.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that either. But I will say I'm interested to see Jesse Eisenberg in Zack Snyder's Justice League, because he has an extended part in it. Much kind of like Superman. This is like Lex Luthor before he's Lex Luthor, if that makes any sense. And I'm really excited to see Joe Manganiello's Deathstroke actually break him out of prison and see that scene. I think it's going to be badass.
No doubt.
Well, one concern / criticism I have with the way most entertainment does it nowadays is when you're trying to reinvent these iconic characters, and then you spend all this time trying to, we're gonna show how this character becomes this character. At a certain point, it's like with Bond, the biggest mistake they made is, he's going to be Bond by the end of Casino Royale. Then he's going to be Bond by the end of this movie. Then he's too old to be Bond. We missed all the prime years. We keep doing this thing where either they're about to become the version we love, but because the movie's not that good or successful, we never get the iconic version, or we're in this postmodernist whatever shit where it's like, they're past their prime or whatever. So they keep doing that. They keep doing that, making that mistake. And they do it with Spider-Man where they keep retelling the origin, or they keep doing it with Batman where they keep retelling the origin. Thankfully, with the Snyder stuff, and yes, this is a compliment, we kind of just jump into him being Batman, and through a series of flashbacks we learn about it. But with Bat-Pat, it's yay, more history of Batman. And I, for one, am tired of getting to, these versions of these characters to become the iconic one. I'm tired of waiting. I'm just ready for them to be the character and start out and do their shit. No more, in 5 sequels, we'll finally get the real version of the Green Lantern. It's like, look, just in a 3-minute segment, tell me how he became the Green Lantern and why he fights for what's just. And there we go. No more 2-hour origin stories on established characters. I'm done. I'm done with
We
that.
need to see the pearls drop again, one more time. We've only seen it how many times, Tom?
I have said this, and this is no joke. I swear that the Waynes have died on screen as many or more times than Dracula.
Probably.
I don't know. Batfleck is one of my favorite Batmen, to be honest. I think he did a great job out of, and I loved Jeremy Irons as Alfred. That was just great. I love that guy. I would like to see more of that. I mean, I guess we're not at this point. But.
Well, and I think that's one of the reasons that BVS was fairly divisive in a lot of ways, is because on one hand you have some characters who are still coming into their own, and then you have a character in Batman who I freaking love, but to a lot of people isn't Batman anymore, right? 20 years in this city, he's gone over the line, and the whole point of that movie is literally him finding his humanity through an alien, essentially. So I understand why a lot of people may not like it. To me, I loved that idea, and I especially love the idea of what if Superman was real right now and he came to Earth. You would literally have like exactly what you saw in that movie. You have half the people, just like anything. Someone influential could come out and say something, and Twitter explodes because one side says this and the other side says that, and they're just at odds, just like with Superman. And that's exactly what both Jor-El and his father, his Earth father, said to him. They both knew that that's the way it would be, and that's why they both gave him a choice of becoming Superman, left it open, and he decided to at the end, and he struggles through it, and you see that struggle. I think it's interesting. So do I.
I really did. I liked the idea, especially how they presented the world reacting to him. I'm a Christopher Reeves fan myself, but I like Henry Cavill. I like him in that role. I just like to see maybe it. Well, like you said, I guess the original idea was for him to be a journey to go to become that Superman that we all remember and love. And I would like to see that. That's Christopher Reeves is my Superman. That idea, and so I think Henry Cavill could be that.
Yeah, and like, let's be real. If they made movies, they were supposed to be just like Christopher Reeve, people would still be complaining. People would still be bitching.
Oh yeah,
it's not exactly what we want.
No, my only issue with it is I actually like Henry Cavill. I have subtle issues with just minor shit throughout the film, but my biggest beef is just the death of Pa Kent, and that's the main thing. Outside of that, the Zod fight goes on a little too long. Other than that, the movie's just fine.
Oh God, Zod was great in that movie, though.
Oh, he's great in the movie, but I mean, again, like I did my little 30-minute script doctor thing where I went and rolled through it real quick, and I just do some minor beat changes and a few things. Otherwise, I try to keep it as much, to what is there is the same. But I feel like it could just use one quick more polish. And I mean, I gave Batman v Superman the chance to kind of pick up where that left off and fix it and give us a reason for a lot of the things that happened, and it just kind of let me down in that respect. Now, again, I do got to say the extended edition's a little bit better, but I mean, honestly, I'm looking a hell of a lot more forward to the Snyder cut of Justice League.
Oh, yeah.
Probably a lot of people who didn't like a lot of the other films simply because I feel like, okay, this is what we were kind of waiting to see anyway. I mean, you get through all, kind of like talking about going through all the, like Jeff was just talking about, going through all the stupid crap with, you got to see an origin story every damn time. We know where Superman comes from and all that kind of stuff. We don't need to see it every time. Same kind of thing here. I just wanted to get to Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman and Flash and all them fighting next to each other against some big bad guy. Well, actually, that's all I really wanted.
I mean, in Man of Steel, I actually did like what they tried to do with Krypton, how they tried to change it. As far as sci-fi goes, I think it was great.
Right, that's my own subjective take on it. I have just minor issues with it, but yeah.
I thought Krypton looked fantastic in that movie. Maybe the highlight of the film, in my opinion.
Dude, the only thing I didn't like was the flying of the dinosaurs, I'll be honest, and the stupid codec thing.
I think that so as I was watching the Man of Steel watch party with Zack Snyder, it's the first time I'd watched Man of Steel in a little while, and I rewatched that, and I just thought to myself, that Krypton scene, I'm like, what if again, a lot of people don't like Zack Snyder, but what if Zack Snyder had like a Star Wars Old Republic movie, like Jedi versus Mandalorian Wars? Like I thought it would be so epic seeing some of those shots that he had in there. But
Well,
yeah,
here's the other misconception: is a lot of us hate Zack Snyder just because we didn't like Man of Steel and BVS. You got to look at this from my perspective. I hate remakes, but I thought Dawn of the Dead was all right.
Same.
I thought he did probably one of the best adaptations we're ever going to get of The Watchmen. Going into Man of Steel, I was pumped as fuck because I loved Watchmen, so I'm like, this guy's going to do Superman justice. And I just have some minor quibbles with it. Outside of that, like, the first flight scene is amazing. I mean, Zack Snyder is, yeah, he's comparable in some ways, I guess, to Michael Bay, but at the same time, he's Michael Bay with style and Michael Bay with flair and actually a little bit of context. And it's not that I don't understand what he was trying to do with Man of Steel. I just don't agree with some of his choices, if that makes more sense.
yeah,
It does.
I hear you. Yeah, it all comes down to it all comes down to kind of your preference, and I know
If I had
for
to
me,
choose between the two, I'd definitely take Snyder any day before over Bay.
well, yeah, me too. I just mean on these characters, right? Everyone has their favorite iterations of certain characters, their favorite adaptations, and yeah, that's how it is. For some people, it's Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. For most people, for some people, there's even some people that like Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. For some people, it's Tom Holland's, and we have these arguments, back and forth. I know, Jeff. I remember you had that. I think it was you and Gary talking to Mahler on EFAP about Spider-Man specifically, and Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
Yep.
And that's one of the things I thought about, is how it takes me back to these arguments about Superman and Man of Steel. And it's something that's so unique to specifically nerd fandom and specifically comic books, because we have 80 years worth of the Superman character. Mm-hmm. And like I said, every time they do a reboot or every time you have a different writer or a different artist, things slightly change with the character. And you have different versions. You even have alternate universes. You have a multiverse. So there's so many things you can do with these characters, specifically in DC.
Well, this is the part about geek culture that I think a lot of people overlook, is the fun debating, arguing, and they take it as complaining. The stuff that the outside world would like to say, oh, this is the toxic aspect of the fan base. I don't know about you guys, but I'm having a great time talking about little bits of, this version of this character and this version of that character. I mean, to me, that's where a lot of the fun connecting with the fans comes from.
Well, that's what makes us nerds. Yeah. That's kind of it. I mean, everybody knows who Superman is, but we know how many different versions there are, or, Brainiac and certain other characters that have never been on screen before. We're the geeks that they ask about that shit.
Right.
That's a big mistake. I can't believe there hasn't been a Brainiac.
Are you fucking kidding me? I know, right? He was supposed to be in Superman 3. That's who actually originally Gus was supposed to turn into.
He's in the Krypton TV series.
Yeah, but they kind of fudged him. They really did. They did okay at first. Well, I don't know. I can't even say that with Smallville. I was going to say they didn't really do him very good justice there either.
I want a Superman the Animated Series version of Brainiac, where he was the entity responsible for the destruction of Krypton.
That's what I changed in my Man of Steel scripts, Doctor.
Because it was
put that
so
in there.
Cool. And you basically make Brainiac the HAL 9000, and the movie.
Exactly.
These movies can write themselves.
Right.
All of them can write themselves. It's like, oh, it's Superman. Well, you basically have to make Superman the big blue Boy Scout. I talked about this on my video this past week where we're talking about Luke Skywalker and how tradition matters and how tradition brings back a sense of familiarity. And right now, and not even with the beer bug crisis, but just in general, the way the world's set up, like, sometimes a reminder of the way things once were kind of brings back that sense of security or nostalgia or whatever it may bring back or elicit in each person. But it does something positive, and it brings back, a reminder of why we liked it in the first place. So I don't think a Superman thing needs to be subverted, or our expectations shouldn't be subverted with Superman. But we go this, we have to make him a loner. We have to make him this. Have to make him conflicted. It's like, look, you want that? Make Spider-Man. Make yourself a Spider-Man movie.
And I really,
Go
go ahead. So no, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I was gonna say is if you want all of this stuff, you get these outside superheroes that you want to make. But if you're gonna make Superman or Batman, you got to make Superman or Batman. You need it to be honest and truthful to the source material for who the character is. You can put these characters in our world. You can put them in other worlds and other situations. Like, I haven't seen the Sonic film, but I'm assuming that the Sonic world is pretty much like the video game, where it's just whatever, bright and colorful. And then you get into the real world, and it's different. It's our world. You can have Superman. Sometimes maybe Superman needs to have that crisis of, is humanity worth saving? Not this other shit. But we don't get that anymore. We get, let's have every iconic Superman storyline in the last 25 years rolled up into a ball and shoved into one film, and then everything was done poorly. Nothing was done right.
I was just going to say, like, Andre and I will be the first to admit that, whether you like Zack Snyder or not, whether you like the movie or not, it wasn't all his fault either. He was going off of the studio mandate that they basically wanted a Batman Begins for Superman. Yeah. If you watch that movie and knowing that, it is exactly what it is. It is the same kind of structure, the same kind of story, the same kind of beats. It's even, like to the same flashback kind of way it runs and everything. It was Warner Brothers saying, that's what we want. We want you to take this thing that Nolan did over here and apply it to Superman. And that doesn't work. They're two completely different entities. And that's why they bounce off of each other so well. And it's not all of Snyder's fault. He was just going with what he was told to do. Now, granted, there's a lot of that in there that is his choices, and that's, as a filmmaker, he's going to do that. But again, I got to reiterate that as just so everybody doesn't think I'm bashing on him constantly all the time.
Yeah, well, and that's why Chris Nolan was a part of that. Chris Nolan was a huge part. They had used his whole crew and everything too for that movie specifically, and I really enjoyed it. I really liked it. And I understand all the criticisms of it and what you guys are saying, but to me, I enjoyed that aspect. And I've heard this comparison to Luke Skywalker before, and to me, Luke Skywalker is like a different animal because Luke Skywalker has been in one continuity. There's one story of Luke Skywalker from 1977 all the way through, unfortunately, the official Star Wars canon, whatever we think of that, to 2019. And you can't just take a character who's in this continuity and then fuck him in episode 8 of a 9-part series. It doesn't make any sense. Right. Whereas you have like these comic book characters who've been around for decades that have had all kinds of iterations, all kind of alternate universes. I'm a lot more mind open about that kind of thing and exploring new takes on these characters that literally have new takes every 6 months when they change writers.
Well, speaking of new takes, this will kind of tie in. I was looking at the basically comic books renumber themselves when they run out of ideas, but I gotta say they finally did a renumbering that I think kind of works, and that's with the new Star Wars books. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to look at any of the Marvel Star Wars comics.
Mm-mm. Yep.
I'm not a fan. I'm not going to tell anyone to go out and buy these books or anything like that, but they renumbered it recently, and it picks up where The Empire Strikes Back left off.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I thought that was a fairly interesting approach to where instead of like, oh, you're going to catch up with episode or issue number 67 where The Empire Strikes Back will leave off, at least with this, it was kind of like, oh, I don't like renumberings. I'm opposed to them, but this one actually kind of makes sense. And then I read the story and I was like, this isn't the worst thing ever. So maybe there's a middle ground, because these companies buy these things to keep them afloat forever in theory. Like, when did Warner Brothers buy DC? Like in the 70s for sure, because every movie ever.
Well, it was kind of the other way around. Time Life acquired Warner Brothers.
Oh, okay.
What it was. So it's funny because I brought that up. It's like, it's funny to think at what time the company that owned DC was bigger than Warner Brothers, and now DC's barely hanging on as far as the comic industry goes.
Well, it's weird to think that the roles.
It was the late 60s, I think it was, but yeah.
Well, they were just always in control of all of their IPs. So. But no, I think we're ready to move on to the next segment because we're about an hour and 38 minutes in. This has been a hell of a show.
I know, right? Yeah, I was just saying that in the private. We got to get moving here through this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, my bad. I talk.
No.
Hey,
This is a
tell
big
everyone.
deal. That's why
Never
you're here,
apologize.
Ryan. That's why you're here, man. This is a big deal to this fan community. I mean, this is something that's unprecedented. Like I said, there's only 2 other instances where something like this I can think of has happened in history. So, and like the Snyder movement, it was what the Donner cut was kind of about, and same thing with the Schrader cut, or however you want to put it. It was online fans just clamoring for it for years, and before the internet existed, the Donner fans were just writing letters. So,
Yeah, this is something that should be celebrated. I'm happy for Ryan, for Lethal, for Fatal, for Abu, for everybody that's behind this movement.
Hey, we
man.
got Ethan in the chat there.
What up,
There's
Ethan? How you
EVS.
doing?
Oh, hell.
Ethan says, "Hail the High Council."
Hail EVS.
Yeah, hail yes.
Honored.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Cyberfrog 2 is freaking killing it. Wrecking it, as it were, with Wrecked Planet.
Boom. No, yeah, Ethan, congratulations, man. Cool to see you in the chat. Sorry, I was sending a link out. There's an after show. Jesse and I will be on her channel discussing pretty much anything the blowover from the High Council, right?
Yeah, whatever you don't get to on here, as well as other stuff.
Other
my
stuff.
thoughts on things. If you like my thoughts on the things we talked about, I'm full of thoughts.
You want some mindless entertainment? You go to mindless entertainment. Yeah, I'm there too. It's fun. We'll have fun. We'll make fun of Zack. Well, we won't make fun of Zack Snyder. We'll make fun of something. I'm in the weird boat where I like his Dawn of the Dead movie a lot. I don't think it's better than the original, but I enjoy it. And I'm not one of those people that's like, I'm embarrassed to say I like something. I think it's a fine movie. I think it has a really good pace. The acting's well done.
Great cast.
Great cast. Yeah, it fits. You have some of those Frank Darabont people come. Some of those actors come over, and then you have that
James Gunn wrote it.
Yeah, there's just a lot going for that film. And yeah, I'm not the biggest Watchmen fan of the book. Not the book, excuse me, of the movie. The book's good. But even then, when you're doing a 1-to-1 adaptation, Watchmen comes out in that era where, like, look at Sin City. Sin City was pretty much a 1-to-1 adaptation.
Watchmen's pretty close.
Yeah,
I mean,
Watchmen,
especially the extended cuts.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you, Old School Lou. I appreciate that very much.
And actually, I'll give him credit. And this is a rarity, because I actually do love the graphic novel of Watchmen. I like the ending of the movie better than I do the book, and I know I'm not alone on that. The ending of the movie makes much more sense than the ending of the book. The whole alien thing at the end just was kind of like,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one
giant
sticking
squid.
point. That's the one sticking point with a lot of people is that ending. And
And
like
I
you said,
actually
it
prefer the movie ending, is what I'm saying. I think it works better in the movie. Yeah.
What are you saying, Jesse? That's your complaint too?
It makes more sense. No,
Oh, it makes more sense.
That's I always cite that as the part where they de-comic bookified the film.
And I do love the line in the movie where was it Ozymandias goes, "What do you think this is, John? A comic book? I pressed the button 30 minutes ago." I was just
Exactly. That's awesome.
I dig it. It's so fun.
I wasn't expecting that ending, and I loved it how he played it out there. And I'm like, at first I was kind of like, wait, and I think kind of like, I don't know if I like that. And then the second time I saw it, I'm like, it works much better. It makes more sense.
It did.
Anyway,
I just want the original theatrical cut released somewhere. Put it on HBO Max, something, because the director's cut's fine, but sometimes I want the theatrical cut too. It's like with Star Wars, let them all be available in the highest quality.
the version I have, I thought I had all of them.
I'm pretty sure the first Blu-ray release was the director's cut, and then the DVD was the only.
The version I have was the big box set, and I think it has. It might only be the DVD version, though. You might be right. I'd have to double check. But it has like 10 discs with it. Not that many, but quite a few, because it's got the motion comic with it, the actual hardcover edition of the book.
Oh, you went ham on that one.
Oh, fuck yes. That's what I was trying to say. You don't understand, Ryan. Like I was saying to Ryan earlier. Like when I went into Man of Steel, when they delayed that for a year, I almost cried. My fucking screensaver for a year was Henry Cavill. That shot, that first shot we got of him up against the fucking safe, that was my screenshot for like over a year, dude. I'm not kidding. You have no idea. Superman's my favorite fucking comic book character. I was so pumped for Man of Steel. I was like, this is it. This is what we needed, a modern take on fucking Superman. You know, it's just like,
and then you're like, I don't want a modern take now.
Well, no, it wasn't even that so much. It's just a few minor problems with it. That's why I think if a lot of people see that Script Doctor episode I did, which is currently on our Patreon, but I've been trying to work out a deal with like guys like you and Abu Nas and a few others where we can watch it and discuss it afterwards.
Yeah, we gotta do that.
Because I just in that 30-minute little span, I just go through the movie, and pretty much the movie's the same outside of the few little minor bits that I kind of switched around into what Jeff was saying earlier. I actually make Brainiac that robot whippy thing that is always in the movie. That's where it originates from. She's running the planet. I make it a she. But so we'll have a female Brainiac, but I figured nobody give a shit.
Typical.
Hey, you know what? It works, and it'd get the movie made. And you want a sexy green bitch.
Captain Kirk did.
Go for it. Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, that was the whole thing. Is like she speeds up the process. She's like, you guys have basically started it, but I'm finishing it because you guys are the problem.
Well, Tom, to go back real quick about your excitement that you felt for Man of Steel, I don't talk about Superman very much, but I do enjoy the character quite a bit. Every time they bring back that classic look to the comic, like was it Superman? Not Superman, excuse me. Action Comics number 1000 that came out last summer or maybe summer 2018. I was out there picking up the book right away because I told myself, I hate the new look of Superman, but if they bring back the classic book, I'll at least throw a couple bucks at it to be like, hey, I support, classic Superman. And that's what they've done. They've gone back to the red trunks and, just a certain image of him, which is cool to have back. I wish that Man of Steel, there are a couple things I didn't like. The flashbacks, necessarily. I kind of wish we would have had that be more linear. But I also wish the suit was more traditional. I'm tired of them trying to reinvent the wheel with all these comic book characters. Thankfully, the MCU's kind of given us that, like, hey, if it's outlandish in a book, we can do it on film and still make it look cool. And we've had that with, the Guardians is probably the strongest example I can come up with, because let's be honest, they look weird as hell in the comic books.
Yeah,
Yondu and all these other characters are dumb looking.
Well, they had to redesign Groot because he's scary as fuck from all the old comics.
Yeah, well, when he wasn't even the I Am Groot, he I think he appeared as an old Marvel monster.
Yeah,
early on. Let's see. Let's see what the Guardians first looked like, though.
Looked like something out of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny how a lot of people, and this isn't a dig at the fan base, so don't take it like that, but it's funny how a lot of people don't realize the horror that Marvel was built upon, a lot of the horror elements, because, Stan Lee and everyone else in the comic book industry followed trends, and you have a lot of that boil over from, the late 50s into the early 60s. So some of the horror comics were still a thing. They were obviously censored down a lot, but you had crazy monsters and shit like that, and Marvel was providing a lot of that. And here we go, folks. That was my quick little connective tissue for that. There you go. There's the old Guardians of the Galaxy right there. So,
oh wow,
yeah. There you go, Dr. Coffin.
Is that Yondu on the far right there?
Yeah, with his
he's
bow.
orange.
His arrow.
That is too cool.
I don't even know who the hell these people are. Like all of them. I mean, I can tell who Yondu is.
Well, that crystal one there, that's he's in the second film, ain't he?
Yeah. Well, yeah, because the original Guardians of the Galaxy team isn't the Guardians that we get in these movies. So and yeah, you're right. A lot of them were in like the end, not quite the end credits, maybe the end credits with Sly Stallone and everybody getting the gang back together after Yondu's death.
Yeah, Vance Astro was one of the first people. Here we go. Here's the first Guardians was Vance Astro, Martin X Tanaga, Captain Charlie 27, and Yondu Udanta. That's the Yondu's last name. Later members include Stacker, God, whatever.
And that's his last name in the movies too.
Who's that? Space Juggernaut? Who's the big yellow guy?
It's the Juggernaut, bitch.
Let's see. It's not Vance Astro, because that is a.
In my tiny little window here, I've got half the chat up and then half screen for the little picture. It looks, with my bad crappy eyesight, kind of reminds me of that New Warriors lunchbox chick or whatever her name is.
Wearing a backpack.
Trailblazer.
Yeah. I can't remember her name.
Well, the nice thing for her would be in space, she doesn't weigh as much.
And you know what's funny is when you call her Lunchbox, I hear it in Jay Mew's voice.
Dude, every time somebody says that, I think of that too.
Hey, Lunchbox.
I cannot get. I just have a mental stick with that. I can't remember anything other than because once I rename something, it's really really hard for me to remember like the actual name.
Well, that's what happened to us on Star Trek Discovery, but that didn't matter because they never really told us their real names anyway. So,
By the way, that big boxy man, his name is Charlie 27, Steven. So if you're wondering who that one specifically is,
That's how many meals he has every day.
looks
well,
like it.
I think he's played by Ving Rhames in the movie.
Oh, is that his character?
Yeah.
Of course,
All right,
typical
makes sense.
typical Marvel race swap. Of course. Yeah.
They
I
did
think
it
it's
with,
more like stereotyping for Ving Rhames. Why does he always get casted as the big fat guys? Oh, Jesse's talking.
That's just an upgrade. That's not a race swap. That's
She says Ving Rhames is an upgrade.
I gotta agree with that.
Big Rings is just a system-wide upgrade.
It to me,
That's Marcellus Wallace, yo.
yeah, it's almost as inoffensive as when Michael Clark Duncan played Kingpin. It doesn't really ruin it.
Yeah.
No, he was just perfect for the part. Yeah,
He was.
Yeah.
I like Mike.
I was just fucking around.
But no, but I will say,
I
real
know you
quick,
were.
Kingpin. I'm all about the Vincent D'Onofrio Kingpin.
I love it.
Sorry,
he knocked it out the park, definitely.
May he rest in peace. But Vincent D'Onofrio is the iconic Kingpin for me. And yeah, I'm just gonna say it too. When I think of Kingpin, I think of Spider-Man, not Daredevil. So
You know what that
Oh, yeah,
really
for
showed
sure.
me with Vincent is he should have been the one to play fucking Lex Luthor, man. Holy shit.
I would have been cool with that. I know for a while people were going on about Bryan Cranston. Sometimes the most obvious casting choice would be the best one. I think he would have been a fantastic Lex Luthor.
I think he could probably do almost anything. I think he's really talented. So as long as his heart was in it, I think he could probably do whatever he wanted.
How would
No,
you
Michael
guys-
Clark Duncan died. Sorry about that Islington girl. I guess the way he worded that, it sounded like you were saying Vincent died.
Oh no, thank God, I'd be really upset. No, Vincent D'Onofrio is alive and well, and we wish him nothing but the best.
We're breaking news here on the High
Here,
Council.
folks.
Yeah.
You didn't hear it here. He's okay. He's alive. The one thing I want to ask you guys too, I usually don't get this too political, is like if you're going to make a Lex Luthor, are you going to go classic evil mad scientist? I lost my hair trying to kill Superman as a boy. Or do you go the 80s Donald Trump evil Biff approach where he's this businessman and that, you know, he's above everybody else, but Superman's above him and they can't handle it? I thought the Clancy Brown rendition over on the cartoon might still be my personal favorite. Do you want to see something along those lines if they ever do Lex Luthor, or do you want just crazy mad scientist?
I want the rich Trump character. I want that guy. I think it adds a much more more ability in the story, more dynamics, him being wealthy, him being kind of untouchable, him being able to hire lawyers and, you know, get off or you know, create whatever crazy devices he wants to create. Although there's something to be said for the mad scientist version. But no, I mean, that's who I want, the wealthy Luthor, the guy who runs for president. That's who I want.
Ooh, that would be a really awesome movie. Luthor for president.
Yeah. I've always preferred that kind of iteration as well. I mean, even the ones where he was president, we have a lot of those storylines, you know. I think that and so there's two in Zack Snyder's DC, there's two casting choices that I have an issue with. The first is, and maybe it's not even really casting, it's just how they decided to play the part. Jesse Eisenberg and the way he played Luthor. Again, we'll see how he's like in this next movie. I think that one's supposed to be like a fucking cocky, arrogant kid. And then the next one, I think you're going to see him maybe more focused, but who knows? And then Ezra Miller as Barry Allen. Ezra Miller is a terrible Barry Allen. Listen, Ezra Miller could Ezra Miller could be Impulse. Ezra Miller would be a perfect Bart Allen. The way he played that role, that is not Barry Allen in any way, shape, or form.
I say either kill him off or recast him. I mean, between the whole choking bit.
Well, here's the thing too, though, Tom. You know, we know that a ton of his stuff was cut, obviously, from Justice League.
Right.
We didn't even see the whole thing with him and Iris West in any way, shape, or form. And also, we know that the whole "I've never done battle, I've just gone and shoved people." That's a Joss Whedon line. Zack Snyder was specifically asked about that, and he said, "What the fuck is that from?" Like that is not, those aren't his lines. I'm sure he also didn't have the Scarlett Johansson bit of falling on Wonder Woman's tits. That was also Joss Whedon. So I think that I'll be interested to see. I don't think it's going to be any better, but I'm hopeful that it could be better in Zack Snyder's version of Justice League.
Well, I'm glad you brought him up because my only other pick for the entire universe would be Jared Leto. And again, with add him in with what's his face playing Luthor, he's playing Junior. So I mean, there's always this opportunity to bring in a daddy. That's the thing is, they didn't did they really specify if Lex Luthor Sr. was dead or not?
I don't think so.
I think they're kind of ambiguous about it. And that's what I'm saying. You could bring in a Vincent D'Onofrio or a Bryan Cranston or anything like. And then from what I remember hearing, they were originally talking to Bryan Cranston, and then I think it was Snyder who decided to go with what's his face because he thought he had an interesting take on it. But
but for as much as respect as I'll give Zack Snyder, dude, taking the Mark Zuckerberg approach was stupid.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, to answer your question, or was it the question of the, I can't remember now if it was a super chat or your question directly, but, I've always had a thing I love personally, I love Gene Hackman's rendition, but that's basically the version that would run for president. You know what I mean? Because he's got an affinity for land. The next thing he's going to do is run for president. President Lex Luthor.
Dude, Otisburg is my favorite line of the whole film.
Otisburg. It's just an itty bitty place.
Like everyone wants to, quote about, even though whatever, flying's still the safest way to travel, and all these iconic lines, commuting this lane. Mine's just Otisburg. It's just a tiny little place.
Tessmacher has got her own place. Otisburg.
It's a little bitty place.
It's an itty bitty place.
That movie, there was a lot lost in translation with Superman growing up. That movie was so different. It was such a product of its time. And so when I watched Batman, it was otherworldly, even though it was, Gotham City. And 1989 is obviously closer to whenever I watched the film. But Superman always just felt so dated, and I'm not knocking it now, but as a kid, it felt very dated and weird. And now as an adult, I get those jokes and references, and I like the movie a lot more. I mean, I'm sure it works for kids because it worked for generations of kids, but I don't know. I think it works better for me looking back as if I'm trying to appreciate it as a film, because there was just so much that wasn't there from that gut initial reaction.
Spartan Flash Sentry, I love that too. He goes, he was the best because he could openly talk shit to Zod, and Zod would say, and this is one of my favorite lines from Superman 2 that's different in the Donner cut, unfortunately. He goes, when Zod goes, why do you say these things when you know I will kill you for it? Lex Luthor, President of Australia.
I like when they thought the whole planet was called Houston.
Planet Houston. Oh, that's a great movie. I love that. I mean, anyway, we'll get off that because it will be here for all night.
It's a fun movie. We did a commentary for it over on our Patreon a while ago. So if you're a patron, folks, and you want to hear Kendo and I did that, Batman 89 and Wonder Woman in the build up to Justice League. There we go. Speaking of Snyder Cut, we were, the channel was a thing back then, and we were kind of interested, kind of excited. So here are our then fresh hot take.
Well, I actually remember you guys' review because I found your channel before The Last Jedi, because you were one of the only people that was talking shit about Force Awakens, and I hated Force Awakens with an absolute passion. So I remember your review of Justice League. I was listening when that happened, and I was like, God, I fucking hated it. I fucking hated it so bad. And you guys were all giving it like 6 or 7s, basically. And I was like, God, what's going on?
Yeah, because like I said, for all of us, we're just like, when does this get terrible? And then it ended. We're like, well, we all had a good time, so that matters, right?
Yeah.
Let's see. Our friend Preston Pooper says, BVS Lex can peg me anytime. If that's what you're into, we do not kink shame here on the High Council unless kink shaming is your thing. Then we'll oblige you.
Hell, brother.
just no Raylo action on this show. Sorry. I'm making you a no Raylo guarantee.
Well, that's endorse. Look, it's one thing to endorse kinks; it's another thing to endorse like pedophilia. That's endorsing Raylo.
Raylo's a whole other level of wrong.
There's a level like pedophilia, bestiality, things that we're just not okay with you doing.
Yeah, basically that's about right. Like Jesse said, as long as it's consulting adults, not an animal or a kid, you're fine.
Not just consulting, but consenting.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
I mean, did I say consulting? I mean consenting.
As long as they're consulting adults, the process.
Yeah, you got to consult with them first, then consenting. I meant consenting. I don't know why.
Tom's having trouble with the C word. I get it. Anyway, Joey Bryant says, who's ready for Keanu Reeves Wolverine? Saw some poster art. Looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh,
What?
Yeah, I'm still on Keanu Reeves as anything because he's such a cool, likable actor. But I think
Keanu
he's
Reeves as Cinderella. I'm there.
sure.
Hell yeah.
Nicolas Cage as Cinderella, even better.
Thank you.
Do you guys think we're gonna get Wolverine in the next wave of X-Men films where they're gonna make you wait? They're gonna sell you the IP, then they'll sell you Wolverine the star.
He's going to be the
wait.
one they wait. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've said that before. They're going to want to put as much distance between Hugh Jackman and whoever they pick next.
Well, I mean, like Wolverine is my background on my phone. I'm a big fan of the character.
Right.
I would rather get no Wolverine than bad Wolverine.
Me too. I think that if they get desperate, like if the next series of films from Marvel comes out and they're not well received, then they might rush that into production to get him involved.
Yeah. Desperation is the most powerful tool out there. And people say, well, money is the great motivator. And I say that too. But man, if you're desperate and you have something you can dust off and, just pay it to fix your problem, Hollywood studios will do it quickly. And I think if X-Men launches poorly, we'll see Hugh Jackman back. I mean, there was rumor that, was it Giancarlo Esposito was going to play Professor X in this new wave of X-Men films. And I'm the first one to say, please no. Not in a million years. I think he is a great actor. He's good as Moff Gideon, even though we really don't know much about the character currently, and he's great as the Chicken Man. But damn it, he is not Professor Xavier. I don't want that in a million years. I'm tired of this. Look, sometimes great casting supersedes, looking like a character. Sometimes you got to look like the character to play an adaptation. And I'm one of those ones where Patrick Stewart was perfect. You had it done right. There's really nothing that this guy's going to bring.
This is also one of those situations too where you're fundamentally missing the point of the original IP if you think that you need to make Professor X black. If you think that's something that's relevant or going to help the message of the film or have it be better or spread a better social message, that right there just tells me you don't understand X-Men at all. So why am I money into a film when you've already demonstrated to me with a simple casting choice that you've missed the point of the entire franchise before you've even made the film?
You do have one problem with X-Men, though, is that it's based in an actual time. And the X-Men story itself always took place in the distant future. Well, now we're past the distant future. Mm-hmm. That's the problem. And I have brought up this before, and I get where Jesse's coming from, and I have the same kind of knee-jerk reaction when it comes to this kind of a thing. But I also look at it from a situation is you have one problem. You have the characters would be way too old now to have Xavier and Magneto from the time period they originally come from. So if you were to age them up and to put them in the civil rights era, I've had this conversation with a few other people, it makes sense to a point, but you have to be very clever and you have to be able to write a really good story and really know how to tie that into the X-Men universe in the way that Stan Lee and them all originally intended the universe to be, and still make it make sense and be as meaningful in that way. Like, I mean, if you want to draw like on apartheid and civil rights movement and stuff like that, there's a parallel that could be drawn there. But again, you have to be very clever with it. It is a fine line to draw.
That's
and
true.
If you bring in somebody like a Denzel Washington and Lawrence Fishburne to play Magneto and Professor X, there's a possibility you could pull it off, but it's a slim chance.
I say easy fix. I know it only lasts for like 20 years, but easy fix. You have certain mutants that age very slowly due to several reasons. Why don't you just make it a broad, sweeping idea that most mutants age slower than regular people?
That has been brought up too, but there's a lot of problems you open with that too.
Yeah, but I mean, also, but it solves a lot of the issues in the short term. I mean, it'll only be a fix for like the next 20 years, but you can still have the Xavier Magneto story, and you can even add on to that. You can weave in their eventual friendship, things like that, or a friendship reuniting as friends once again. There's a lot of different stories that you could take with that, but like you said, the problem is that we're beyond that time period. So either buck up and create something new, not Snowflake and Safe Space, and something good, and present it to the public. I mean, that's really the only other option. I don't think that recasting them in different eras or different races or creeds or whatnot, I don't think that's going to help. I think that'll create more controversy than really the creativity you're trying to put forth.
The other thing is they may not even do characters like Professor X and Magneto.
Right.
I've been hearing mumblings and rumors like they may just have like Storm be the leader, which is something that's happened in the comics before and stuff like that too. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the first X-Men we see is like, again, Storm in like Black Panther 2.
Dude, I'd love to see like the Bishop
Rogue
era.
maybe showing up in Spider-Man or something like that. You know, I have a feeling that's how they're going to sprinkle them out, but you were saying, Steven?
No, I'd love to see like the Bishop era of mutants, you know, well past that time. You know, I mean, we wouldn't exactly get depending on how they bring those universes together, you might necessarily get that exact era. But the mutants from that time, you've got good characters in that era of Marvel. Bring them on, you know, make them well written, bring them into the story in a cohesive manner that doesn't disrespect the lore, that may alter it, but that's for the needs of the medium, seeing as that we're kind of smushing all this stuff together at this point, all these different storylines. But you know, as long as it's done well, then let the art present itself and be judged.
Now, let's see. We had our friend Andrew Clark who says Kevin Conroy in a live-action Batman Beyond movie. All you do is preaching to the choir. All of us love Kevin Conroy.
Yes, hail, brother, yes.
Yep.
Modalicious says we had Gotham. We need a 10-year Batman moratorium. I don't know if I can wait 10 years for more Batman. I wouldn't mind them just maybe if you don't have a film for 10 years, maybe you put out another Arkham game from Rocksteady.
It should be announced fairly soon from their studio in Vancouver. So
now, are they the same studio that did Arkham Origins though?
I believe so.
I
think Origins is underrated, personally.
My complaint with it is you're in the middle of this big narrative and this trilogy of games, and then you're like, hey, we're gonna pull it back and do another game in the middle of the trilogy. And to me, it just felt like this is just the greatest hits game to sell games, not to tell a story. But maybe, you know, if they re-release it on PS4 or whatever, and I have another chance to play it, maybe I'll think differently. But I mean, if you're in the middle of this big trilogy and you're not even putting Kevin Conroy's voice in the game and all this other stuff, I mean, it's kind of like it feels lesser by comparison. But since it's been 5 years, maybe whatever offering they put out will be excellent. So I gotta see it first.
There are some the thing I'll say about Origin. There's some great boss battles in that. Really enjoy a lot of those fights. The new we call it the new Arkham game. It's supposed to be a kind of a reboot, basically. So it's I don't know I'm sure it's going to be the same style and everything as the Arkham games, but I think it's going to take place in a whole new kind of continuity. That's the rumor anyway. And then there's also another DC game in the work. No one really knows too many details. Some rumors about a Superman game, but we don't know yet.
Yeah, but what the hell would you do in a Superman game because the thing is, Superman's invincible. The conceit of him running into kryptonite-powered villains or things on every street corner is stupid. Like I don't know, Ryan, if you've ever played the old Death of Superman game for the Super Nintendo. It's a side-scrolling beat 'em up. What thug on the street is going to be able to do anything to Superman? Remember, Superman Returns, he gets shot in the eyeball and it just bounces off.
Yes,
What you would do is you would have the first level of the game full powered Superman get into a situation to where his invulnerability, his strength, some kind of kryptonite weapon is compromised, and then through the game, as you gain levels, you're purging yourself of that kryptonite infection.
Yeah. Well, so kryptonite or magic, we all do know that Superman is vulnerable to magic. So that's the only way you could realistically do it is if he encounters someone who uses some kind of magic power to weaken him in some sort of way. But yeah, and I agree. We'll see. I think this Avengers video game that comes out is going to be interesting because I think that may dictate maybe how another one gets developed, because we've heard literally no details about it. So I don't even think they've really started on it. Could it be some kind of like Justice League game to counter the Marvel's Avengers game, which is going to be shit because it's just going to be about Kamala Khan's stupid ass.
Thank you. I'm hoping this game. I'm going to be the guy I don't normally tell everyone to be. I hope this game fucking flops. If you're going to try to sell me an Avengers game, but what you're really giving me is a backdoor Kamala Khan pilot to make everyone accept her, and this is going to be used as ammunition. Oh, she's a hugely accepted character, guys. Her game sold 44. Like, look at this Avengers game. If it does well, we're gonna hear about every goddamn unit that gets shipped because it's gonna be used to prove a point. It's like with certain streaming services. Oh, did you know that The Revenge of the Sith was the most watched Star Wars film on Star Wars Day? It's like you only release these little snippets of information to prove your point, to run with your narrative. So I foresee us getting tons of information about this Avengers game if it sells well, because every video, every piece of information that comes out is going to be used to say, hey, people love Kamala Khan. And I'll say, what about Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, the Hulk, Black Widow? What about those characters that are the mainstays of the MCU that you're bringing over here? Not little Kamala Khan with her stretchy arms and giant hand. Like,
they're toxic, Jeff. They're toxic. Kamala Khan is stunning and brave with her huge hands. Right?
One thing I'll say, I want to move forward. Talking to that Superman game, Ryan, Superman 64 still rings true to a lot of people as the worst game ever. It's going to take something so perfect to wash away the flavor of Superman 64 over 20 years from now, or 20 years ago is when that game came out. It's going to take a lot. I wanted to. I like Superman. Tom, I'm not as I didn't realize you liked Superman as much as you did, but I am a fan of the character quite heavily, and I want something great. I want great movies, great everything. I wouldn't be mad if Superman became the most popular superhero in the world again because of the quality of entertainment they kept putting out. Excuse me.
My top superheroes are Superman, Batman, and the Ninja Turtles.
I'm going to go with Spider-Man, Batman.
Then Spider-Man and Hulk.
You know, Wolverine has moved up so quickly over the last couple of years. I dig the character so much. Just his the older Frank Miller stuff. And the Chris Claremont wrote it too. But yeah, just that old Wolverine. Those old stories are so good.
I would go. I might go Flash, Nightwing, Green Lantern, maybe.
Oh, you deep cutter, you.
Nice.
I just love Nightwing. I feel like Dick Grayson is one of the most underrated.
Like forever?
Not necessarily, but
I'm sorry.
but I do. I'm not ashamed to say I love Dick Grayson. I think that he's so interesting as a character because he, on one hand, like he's been taught everything by Batman, but he's almost been taught by Batman to not be the person that he is. He is the perfect hybrid of Batman and Superman. This person who has gone through all like this tragedy, just like Bruce did, but Bruce almost went out of the way to raise him so that he turned out like Superman, like someone who looks at the world with this in a more idealized way. Mm-hmm. And like the character's always rung very true to me. And I've always really appreciated Nightwing.
What about you, Mecca? Favorites?
Favorite superheroes?
Yeah.
Freakazoid. I'm going old TV fake superheroes.
Yeah, you're not into the standard stuff yet.
Not that well, because Freakazoid was so much more fun, and he was the internet gas guy before the internet gas guy. I really like Doctor Strange too.
Yeah. I can see that.
Yeah,
that new movie could be amazing. Like, I'm really hoping that we get if they're going to do this multiverse, I hope they do it so crazy with like Disney owning all these IPs now. And I mean Disney, not just Marvel. If they own the rights to like Fox movies and shit, and Doctor Strange can open up all these portals, open them up to dimensions of like famous movies or famous things, and everyone just has like a Ready Player One callback for a moment and then go right back into the story. Don't distract. But if you're going to own all these things, use your powers for good, and like have the ability for Doctor Strange literally to accidentally tap into like Alien, like for mistake, like he accidentally goes into the Alien universe, like, oh shit, or something. Just something fun like that where the audience gets invested, and then the audience goes, wow, this world's bigger than we thought. It just, kind of keeps it light and fun.
I know you like the Tick a little bit too, but can't remember if you like the Crow or not.
The Crow? No, I haven't. No,
I couldn't remember yet.
No.
Steven, favorite superhero?
Favorite superhero would be the Incredible Hulk, the David Banner version. I love that show. It would have to be Hulk, and then Batman and Flash.
I met Lou Ferrigno once. That was cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
Jesse, favorite superhero?
I gotta go with Batman since I was a little kid. One thing I like about him, it's something sort of Jeff you talked about a little bit about the way these characters go through different iterations, and it's all arguments. Who's your Batman? Who's your best? And who's your that? I think his Batman was so timeless for me, and because the animated series was such a part of my childhood. When I think of Batman, I don't necessarily think of one of the actors who played him. Like Batman is bigger than any single person that played him. I think that's true of Superman as well, and of Spider-Man. You know, these characters that have gone through all these iterations, they're bigger than the character behind the mask, and they're bigger than the actors who portray them in movie or television. And I think that idea of what Batman is always resonated well with me. Like he's a good guy, and he's always the good guy doing things for good, but he's not good per se. He's not your typical idea of good, and that always resonated really well with me, which is kind of the similar reason why Iron Man ultimately resonated with me when that movie came out and brought him quickly from a superhero I didn't know existed to my number 2.
Batman is the quintessential vigilante, I think she's trying to say.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to read 2 more of these, and then I'm going to go to I wanted to talk about this rewriting the original trilogy. So, folks, if you're enjoying this show, and it seems like a ton of you are because we have a huge turnout, bless you, hit that thumbs up button. We'll be back next Tuesday with the High Council. I'll be back tomorrow night with Fandom Menace, tonight, Thursday with the show. Simply put, we're back. Everything's back on schedule. We're back to having regular shows, content, everything that you want. I know. Bless you. Like there will be a continuation of this show over on Jesse's channel, Mindless Entertainment. It'll be the High Council Runover. Is that what you called it? After show, excuse me. So I'll be on camera and talking about stuff. Everything that you guys want to ask us will be answered there. Our friend Stillwind87, thank you very much. He says, "Why not have it all? It all leads to a crisis. Excuse me. I'm all for having infinite crisis. Was it infinite? Right.
Crisis on Infinite Earths. Yeah.
I read the damn book. It's funny thing is I couldn't remember the title. I met both George Perez and Marv Wolfman in the same weekend. George Perez was the nicest. Like I know I always talk about like nice celebrities I've met, but George Perez, who, if you don't know, folks, he's one of the best comic book artists of all time. Also one of the nicest dudes. That dude talked to us for like 20 minutes after the commission, held up the line, just was the nicest, most engaging dude you can possibly imagine. I mean, ask Ethan about him. Ethan has nothing but nice things to say about George Perez because everybody does. He's like the greatest dude to ever draw a comic book, personally, from a person's standpoint. But I would watch Crisis on Infinite Earths, the movie, any day of the week. And that's not necessarily the TV show, though. And then here we go before we start talking about the next one. Horace Cock Johnson says, question, how much power does a casting director have? Who thought the Flash casting was a good idea? His portrayal of Flash came off as a mix of Jeff Goldblum and a 15-year-old 80s Valley girl. I assume you're talking about
Ezra Miller.
That's the best way to describe him. A 15-year-old 80s Valley girl and Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, like so much like I like I said, I hate Ezra Miller's Flash. He's not Barry Allen, and the whole idea of him saying, I've never done battle, I just push people. Motherfucker, we saw you in Suicide Squad. Or, like, take out Captain Boomerang and fight Captain Boomerang and arrest him. Right. Don't tell me you just pushed people and got out of the, like,
I
that's
forgot
not
about
true.
That.
Like, yeah, that's why I'm saying it. That's one of the reasons Justice League's such a mess.
And he was cocky in that scene. Like, that was that was more the Flash than he was in Justice League.
100% agree. That is like, yeah, that is. I thought he was a better Flash in that 3 seconds than we got in Justice League, and I'm hoping we see something else with the Snyder cut, like the whole saving the family arc and things like that, where we saw Flash have a role. That doesn't happen in Zack Snyder's Justice League. It just doesn't. Zack Snyder was asked about the family, like, why did you create this family that was still there? And he's like, what are you fucking talking about? That was Joss Whedon.
I know I'm a small minority here, but I liked Suicide Squad. Release the Ayer cut. Thank you.
I didn't hate it. It was the one I gave the most positive review of all the films at the time, but I also admitted that it was like a clusterfuck mess.
It was a mess, but you know what? That's one of the things that I found endearing about the movie was that it was a bit of a mess. There's a movie about antagonists, not protagonists, right? It's about the bad guys. So it being a little sloppy or a little messy or a little like out of tune, that felt perfect to me, and I just love that movie. That's what it is.
It's a more fun movie. You didn't have as many people complaining that it felt too dark because I feel like most people are like, yeah, it should be dark. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, I do think it's a huge mess and not what we were supposed to get, but it's also listen, people just don't really care that much about a character like Deadshot or Captain Boomerang or Diablo or things like that if they're not accurately represented. The one being Joker. We did hear a lot of feedback about Joker, but he had a relatively small role in that movie. So I think that's one of the reasons that I think a lot of people are better with it. And that's why it made $700 million.
I maintain that Joker was the Tim Drake version of Joker, not the original Joker. I think that was the time past the Joker being killed by Batman. And
Tim Drake or Jason Todd?
Jason Todd. Sorry. Yeah.
Either or works, but I said Jason Todd earlier too. Yeah,
you're right, Jason Todd.
Tim Drake would never fall like that. Well, I mean, to be fair, there's actually there's a pretty cool storyline actually in Rebirth about Tim Drake as Batman coming back and trying to kill a bunch of people, which is pretty sick.
What about Tim Drake in Return of the Joker, Batman Beyond?
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I guess you're right.
The Joker broke him. It's funny. Yeah. Everybody talks about how Batman would never kill the Joker, this, that, and the other. Robin killed the Joker, just shot him in the chest. And the Joker's final line is, "That's not funny at all," and then he dies.
Yeah.
That's the Joker moment from the cartoons.
Yeah, that's right. I do like Batman Beyond.
You know what? That's an excuse I give myself so that I can get over the obvious problems with that version of the Joker. But I just accept it for what it is. Overall, I love that movie. So, if there is another cut out there of it, I'd be interested in seeing it as a fan of that film.
Yeah.
Now, we're all fans of Star Wars, or what used to be Star Wars, but the ever-evolving bitch slap that is the degradation of Luke Skywalker's character doesn't stop anytime. So, now, I'm an artist, I believe. Well, Steven, you're an artist too. You're a writer. Jesse's an artist. She does music. Ethan's obviously the big artist in the community. Anna too. But we're all artists. We all know artistic flair, artistic stylistic choices, all these different things, they weigh heavy into your end product, be it your book, my comic, a song, a painting. You always have to ask yourself, when you look at a piece of trash like what I'm about to show you, or what I'm showing you currently, is what were they thinking? The Angry Video Game Nerd does this best. What were they thinking?
I don't know, but Luke looks like he's about to service R2. What is going on here?
He's gonna kiss him.
Did R2 give him consultation?
Well, and here's the thing. When I talked about this, I did a video on this, and I said, listen, there's stylistic art choices. I get it. But look at Han Solo. They went out of the way to make him look like a fucking Chad, right? Like, he looks masculine as hell. Why did they make Luke look like a 15-year-old girl?
Han's like, I think I got a fart.
Yeah.
No, I think they're trying to do the old Rankin and Bass kind of style of look, but it's not working.
Han is trying to sell me insurance. I don't like that, Han.
Yeah. Well, and let's be honest. So Luke Skywalker, throughout the original trilogy, is not like some manly man. You have the Empire scene where he's working out and stuff, but he's not like the definition of masculinity. Like I feel like Han Solo embodies. But he is not this. Whatever they have created, this travesty with lipstick. It is not this, and I don't know.
We know what he was picking up at the Tashi station besides some power converters.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that cherry lip gloss doesn't look good on Luke.
No, it does not. That is not his color. But the thing with Luke Skywalker is they always, they being Disney, the people that are in power at Lucasfilm, they're always finding a way to castrate Luke Skywalker. I did a video the other week called "The Final Castration of Luke Skywalker." Well, shit, this came out, and now that wasn't the final. There's this. And now this it's going to lead into the revisionist history, folks, in a moment. But we're going to take a minute to look at how ugly this Luke is. And I've been pulling up a couple images, so give me a moment, because this one actually just popped up into my mind. But Luke Skywalker, like you said, he's never been this bastion of masculinity. He's always been the everyman, the relatable character. Realistically, I think a lot of young boys could relate to Luke because he kind of looks like him. He's just this dude. He's just an older version. He's not like when you watch an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, sometimes you think, Jesus, how many hours do I have to put in the gym to look like that? Or if you're looking at somebody like a Bond, where you're like, man, I could never be that cool. But you look at a Luke Skywalker, and Luke Skywalker is almost painfully relatable if you think about it. Because we all want to go off and be great on these go off on these great adventures, these journeys, be the hero of our own story. But Luke Skywalker has a great support system in that first film that really allows him to get to where he needs to go. If this was Rey just blinks her eyes and she's off the planet and the most powerful being in the galaxy. But with Luke, it's like, I have to fail, I have to do this, I have to lose my hand, I have to lose this person and that person. It's this trial by fire.
Kiss my sister.
And he was whiny at first. Like, he's not your typical hero, I don't think. That's one of the complaints that I've heard from OT fans is about Luke. Yeah, you know what? In that first movie, he's really whiny. He's kind of annoying.
He is whiny in the first movie.
Yeah. And so I mean, he's not a Gary Stu by any stretch, no. Or how they try and freaking frame that.
What does he ever win other than against Jabba? He has a great shot at the end of the Death Star, right? He lets the Force guide his hand, and he gets that victory. But I mean,
you forgot that was all Jyn Erso.
Yeah. All he did was fire the last shot. They struggle throughout the movie. Ben Kenobi ends up having to give his life because their original plan failed, the breakout. You see them running around, and obviously we know that was all a setup to let them go, to lead them to the base, to destroy the rebellion. We see an Empire. He doesn't listen to Yoda. He leaves his training early to go save his friends, which is a trick, and he gets his ass beat. He comes back a little more mature. He saves his friend Han Solo at Jabba, not at Jabba's palace, but at the Sarlacc. And then he goes and says, well, hey, you're a Jedi now, kid. Go for it. And he goes, even though he knows he shouldn't be going on this mission, he goes anyway. He gets detected. He gives himself up. He fails. He turns, basically, at the end. He gives in to his anger, and he strikes his father down. It's not till he throws his lightsaber away and is being killed by the Emperor, and his father turns back. Mm-hmm. Like, Luke Skywalker, at the end of the day, is not something who did everything right, who was super overpowered or anything like that. Luke Skywalker is just a great character who has a great journey. And the inspiration of him saying there, I'm not going to strike my father down, I love him still, there's still good in him, inspires his father, who killed hundreds and hundreds of people, including the entire Jedi Order, to turn on the person who had made him that way and throw him down that elevator shaft. Like, that is the power of Luke Skywalker. Not that he's fucking perfect like Rey.
Yeah.
Well, here we have right here. This is Star Wars issue number 2, I believe. Let me just make sure I got the number accurate. Yes. This is Luke Skywalker and how he was depicted back in the day, which is funny because if you go back and you look at the early comic books, they're way more action-packed than the films themselves were. We're talking huge dramatic poses. Luke Skywalker's got, Arnold Schwarzenegger legs and arms. I mean, this is what a traditional comic book hero would be, but he resonated because he wasn't really what a traditional hero was. Now, I know people in the chat are saying this Luke comic is from 4 years ago, and yeah, that's fine. The Luke can look like a girl 4 years ago. It doesn't make it any more passable. The only thing I will say in defense of how ugly this Luke is that this same artist or this same style was reused for a Force Awakens adaptation. And I'm going to show you guys how ugly and stupid that is. Because Luke looking like a woman isn't really our main thing. That's just a lead-in. Because, here we go. Here's this is supposed to be Poe Dameron, and that's Finn. Let's see how ugly all the characters look. We'll have some fun at the expense of this real quick.
At least Finn looks like a man.
At least Finn looks like a man. Luke does look like a little boy. I'm Rey. Rey looks like an alien right here.
What the hell is wrong with Rey's head?
Well,
it's still attached to her body.
Goddamn thing.
Did I say that out loud? Whoops.
Bad, Ryan. Bad boy.
I was thinking it too.
Lord helmet.
But if we look further into it, that kind of looks like Han Solo.
What the hell?
No.
Look at that nose. Yeah, it's Harrison Ford who's having a stroke. Look at that face.
That's what I'm about to say.
They're going for the lopsided grin. They just went for stroke face.
Yeah, that's stroke Solo right there.
He's like, I smell toast.
We have old butthole eyes. But yeah, this is an art style that was... I'm not knocking the artist because the art looks fine. I just don't think it looks good for Star Wars. It's like when I show you I can show you old Howard Chaykin art.
She's got bigger boobs there than she does in the movie.
I mean, she actually has.
I was going to say that, but I didn't want to.
Where are her
I know, me
organs,
either,
though?
but I figured, fuck it.
I just want to see how they do Princess Leia in this comic. You think they'll do Princess Leia right? No, they didn't. She looks like
Oh my god!
Ugh.
Let's be real. Carrie Fisher didn't look the best in these
No,
movies.
you're right.
I don't
Let's
care,
just-
but that
let's be
was
real.
insulting almost. I don't know what the fuck they did there.
Hold on, where'd it go? I was trying to find that specific frame. It went away from me. There they are.
It ran and hid.
Yeah, I would too. This is just there we go. That's what I was trying to zoom in. Look at him.
My pot. They smoked it all.
God.
What'd you do with the coke?
My sciatica's acting up.
Jesus Christ! Did you leave me anything?
Now, like I said, I'm not knocking this artist. It does have there's artistic merit. It does look good. It tells a story X, Y, and Z. But there's always been not always been. Let me rephrase it. There's been this a couple years. It's been like for the last couple of years. It felt like Luke Skywalker's always been under attack, and this feminizing him just goes to it's just a little more. It's just one more grain of salt in the wound, one more piece of whatever. It's like they had to try to make Luke Skywalker be hated. That's all I can say. It wasn't just an accident. All these things didn't just fall into place.
Well, this isn't just an accident. It's because that Luke Skywalker represents the original fandom and the prequel fandom to an extent, depending on when you grew up. I love the prequels, and I grew up during the OT. But Luke Skywalker represents the traditional fans, the legacy fandom, the people that have supported this product and loved it and read all the books and read the comics and bought toys, even as grown adults, and passed these things on to their kids. The people that Kathleen Kennedy doesn't want in her fandom, doesn't want to cater to. So everything that they do to Luke Skywalker, as far as Kathleen Kennedy and her loyalists within Disney Lucasfilm, that is their way of just telling us we're not wanted, wanting to push us away, and I take that message to heart.
Now, the one thing I will, I was going to give them credit about the new depiction of Luke before we talk about revisionist history. I will say, while I like this rendering, I hate this phrase. What am I supposed to be with Luke Skywalker? Luke Skywalker, at this point in his journey, kind of knew. I don't like how they're trying to make him so unsure.
Is he questioning his sexuality, Jeff?
I think so. This is post-Empire. He lost his hand. He's like, what do I do now?
Use your other one.
Yeah. I liked that joke in Robot Chicken. Family Guy Star Wars, where he's like, watch out or you'll pull your dick off when he gets the new robotic arm. Like, that's really fucking work.
Yeah.
But, this Luke questioning his existence type of thing, that is very Rey. That is very not Luke Skywalker,
So this is right after he got his hand cut off, or is it? Does he have a new one yet? Well,
I don't even think he has his new hand yet, Ryan. Because for some reason they keep drawing him in his Empire garb, which is fine. I dig it. I think it's a great looking suit.
Right after he gets his hand cut off is right when he finds out that
Vader's his father.
So having a moment of questioning existence might work in that particular moment. I'll give him that.
Yeah, I could see that. Like, well, think about it. Think about the moment when he's sitting in the small medical bay of the Falcon, and he's just learned this. He basically just said, "I'd rather die than exist here," and with the knowledge that you're my father, go with you. And what happens when he's in the bay? Vader reaches out, Luke, and he says, "Father!" He immediately answers him. You know what I mean?
Am I overreaching, though, here in that the reason why this may not seem right is the question is kind of off, is because he's saying, what am I supposed to be, not who am I supposed to be?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I may be looking too far into it, but, isn't that kind of I don't know. Because everybody's always I identify, I'm this, I'm that, it's what I am, blah, 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 blah. It's more no. Luke is pretty sure to a point, what he is. He's a person. He's a Jedi in training, but he's now gotten some information that totally changes his entire outlook on who he is and who his father is and stuff.
Yeah, that's where I'm taking it, Tom.
Yeah.
I also see Jesse's point, though. After you just went through all that shit with Vader, I can see that.
Yeah. For sure. And it's a dude who he just ignored Yoda, right? He just ignored Yoda to go and save his friends. He was wrong. It was a trap. Han's gone. Like all this stuff has happened, right? And I listen. If you're gonna ever have a moment of doubt, that's it. And I think we see him when he gets his hand at the end, right? We don't know exactly how much time's passed, a week or so, probably, to get back to a medical facility, get fitted for that prosthetic. And at that point in time, he's like, hey, he's gathered himself together. He's like, hey, we're going to get Han. Like, everything is going to be okay. We'll fucking figure it out. I can kind of see it. But I know what you're seeing. I know what you're saying, Jeff, because it's not like this is some isolated incident. They are weakening Luke Skywalker. They are going through. As soon as I found out that this new comic run was going to start, like basically at the end of God, it's fucked up. At the end of Empire Strikes Back, that's a problem because they have so much lore and so much continuity that they can mess up.
Well, and I got to jump in here going off what you're saying, Ryan, and I'm going off a few things going in the chat. I get, some people are like, maybe he means what am I supposed to do or what am I supposed to be like as opposed to a Jedi. I don't think that's the problem. He's pretty sure of who he is. He basically says, fuck this, and drops everything at the moment he thinks Han's in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's like, fuck my Jedi training. I'm going to save my friends. So I don't think even knowing that Vader's his father would really make him question what he is as far as, like, good or bad, so much as who he is inside and what he thought his past was. Because, I mean, we even have that part where he's like, Ben, why did you lie to me? Like, that is, like, probably his biggest thing is all these... He's probably questioning more the people that are close to him as far as, like, Ben and stuff like that. But, I mean, Luke is pretty convicted in what he wants to be and who he is. I mean, it comes to his friends. They come first. And that's why I think it's a real big jump in logic to buy that he would kill his fucking nephew
Yeah.
on a hunch.
What I question is why this person in this photo looks like somebody who should be on Twitch yelling at simps. What is it?
I will rescind my initial statement sticking up for Luke's questioning based on some of the stuff that Jeff and Tom were kind of saying there, which is exactly, I mean, and even Ryan brought up there is like within like however long it takes to get him from this moment of like where he's still arguably in shock because he had his hand cut off, found out that the psycho murderer is his dad and was hanging upside down from a space city for a little while, or an atmosphere city. It might have been a little bit of shock, but like by the time he's back to hand on your reattached, or new hand, end of movie, whatnot, he's completely grounded again. He's completely focused. He's completely like, I know what I got to do. I have to face my father. I got to go get Han. Like they're all, he really isn't. That's really not a thing that his character does is question who he is.
No, he always acts before he thinks sometimes even. That's one of his flaws.
He's kind of the opposite of Rey in that way, where Rey, all she is questioning, who am I? What's me? Why is this about me? And Luke never thinks about himself. Luke is like the Negare just for that alone. Like he literally never bothers to think about himself and what he wants.
No, that's a great point. He's one of the most selfless people in this universe. He's like the antithesis of Solo in that way, because that's where we meet Han. He's the selfish pirate. And Luke is the, wide-eyed kid who wants to just befriend everybody, and he wants to, help his friends and be there for the people that he cares about, Especially when he loses his family. I mean, you got to look at it that way. His whole family, he just lost his whole fucking family. The only people he's ever known.
By the way, he's going to let his parents hold him back, or his aunt and uncle. That's not thinking for himself. He was going to stay on the farm like a good little boy.
Exactly.
Farm work because Uncle Owen needed him. That's how selfless he is. He was going to give up this, he wasn't even going to go chase his destiny for the sake of family when he still had one.
He immediately judges Han, too, as Han's leaving during the Battle of Yavin. Luke's like, oh, just take off. I guess that's what you're best at or whatever. Like, immediately judges Han for not wanting to join this absolutely hopeless cause.
Well,
right?
It's not just that. I think he felt like they were friends, and he felt like he was kind of turning his back on him. And I think that speaks to Luke and how committed he is. And I think that was a big reason I was upset that Lucas decided to add in a little bit of the Biggs stuff, but he didn't add it all back in to kind of give the backstory of who Biggs was for Luke. Like he was this guy that he looked up to, as his only real friend. Because, everybody, if you watch that deleted scene, everybody else is picking on him and treating him like shit.
Oh, yeah, Cammy. They call him Morby.
Yeah, Biggs is the only one who really treats him decent, you know. I mean, so you got to admit he's probably been a small little runt picked on his whole life. You know, you're the orphan kid. You live with your dirty uncle and aunt out on the fucking farm. You know, you loser kid. He probably is picked on his whole life. And if anybody knows anything about Skywalker, good God, can you imagine how they fucking treated him? And he was probably like, "Why does everybody treat me like shit?" You know, it's like.
Real quick, my nerdy home said he looks like he watched a full face natural makeup tutorial and thought,
It's like Grace Randolph right there. I don't know, but that's just me.
Well, I don't want to speak ill of Grace. She's done a lot of good things for the
I'm not
Snyder
saying
Cut.
but it's just that's not any knock on her. It's just the fact they made him look so feminine. But
Yeah, Luke right here with Vader, he definitely looks like a girl.
Totally.
Go scroll down one more. Look at this one.
The blow up doll one. What? His mouth shaped like an ooh.
that is an "It's So Big" bubble. All right.
Yeah.
Leave it to fucking Mecca.
That is when he walks around the corner and sees Lando undressing. Like that is what is happening.
True. It's true.
True. Yeah. More sniff proven. Jeez. Yeah. That's oh God, that's terrible, Luke.
And this isn't the only one. You're in Ichibaka's article. I think down at the bottom they have a different panel from a different comic, completely different one. This is, I think, an Empire Strikes Back.
That looks like
retelling.
Leia.
It does.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that.
That's not Leia?
No, that's Luke after he gets hit by the Tauntaun. Or after he gets kicked off the Tauntaun by the Wampa, basically.
Using my genitals. I don't know how much longer I can do this.
Hey, look at all our videos.
Yeah.
Luke has a pretty mouth. God,
That's what Boba Fett said.
now, I did see this from just some guy. Just some guy thinks that someone edited those to make his lips look more, lipsticky. I did see that, but I don't know where he got that from. I do remember that.
It says this isn't the original art. Hold on. Oh, sorry.
No, good. I was just gonna say I've been looking for the damn comic to show more examples, but I can't find it on the website I use. I keep finding classic Star Wars, but I don't see like.
Okay, so what was Ryan saying there? That somebody was trying to say that we doctored the art and it really wasn't, or
not that we did, but just some guy said that he found that it was basically like they recolored it a little bit to make it look like that. And that it's whoever initially found that or something. It's not how it originally looked.
Well, if somebody did that, that's hella bait.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know exactly. I don't know exactly what happened. I just saw the tweet from just some guy, and I haven't been able to see anything about it.
Well, I don't think it speaks so much to the fact that anybody has a problem with somebody being feminine if they're a male or anything like that. So much more is just that it's not the character.
Preach, sister.
Exactly. Like, it's disgusting to do that to Luke. No, it's just horrible. Why would you want to? I don't even think Mark Hamill would appreciate that. And I don't think he has anything against gay people or anybody who wants to be feminine or anybody who's transsexual or anything like that. I think that he would be upset that somebody would try to re-envision his character like that.
I found it.
You did?
Oh, good.
I found it only the Empire Strikes Back one, so we can see Luke in his lipped glory. So blah blah blah. There it is in the actual comic right here.
Okay.
There's Luke.
Debunked.
No, not deep. Well, no, he's talking about those two specific shots
From Return of the
Luke
Jedi. Yeah,
in his Return of the Jedi garb. Yes,
I couldn't find that, but I'm just trying to say they do. This art style definitely puts these lips on all the characters.
That's what I'm saying. The claim is debunked. Yeah.
Yeah, there's Han.
Oh my God.
What the hell? Lay off the booze, huh?
Like right here, this caricature of General Rieekan looks awesome.
That's
But
not
then
bad.
Princess Leia looks weird.
she looks like Rey.
They
They're
look like
trying
Barbie
to do
dolls.
like okay, I take it back. It's not a Rankin and Bass style. You know what they're trying to do? They're trying to do a Chuck Jones style.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Leia doesn't look bad. I think she's cute.
There's a nice fluidity to the art.
Yeah.
I
just
see
think-
it in the eyes now that I
What
say
is up
that.
with Chewie's legs? Hold on. What happened to Chewie's legs? Oh my God. They didn't even give him a fur patch to like insinuate that he was covering his nuts. What happened to that man's legs? He's got facts. His thighs go straight to his back. He has no ass.
He's got
Photoshop thigh gap.
He's wearing bell bottoms.
It was the 80s, early
Yeah,
80s.
exactly.
No, those are the furry boots.
Wait, hold on. What's General Riken doing there? That doesn't make any sense. I watched a little cartoon the other day. That's not true.
Yeah.
Perfect transition. So
Yeah,
let's talk about Empire Strikes Back. So I don't know about you guys, but Thursday was the 40th anniversary, of The Empire Strikes Back, and I had to watch it. Jesse and I sat down. We did a viewing of The Empire Strikes Back. We did the Disney Plus version, so the color correction was changed to, I guess, to be more in line with the original version. But whatever. I looked at Empire in a whole new way, and I didn't once think to myself, let's redo this. Let's change the history of Star Wars to build up Princess Leia. Now, full transparency, I think Princess Leia is a great character. She might be my favorite fictional female character of all time. Love her to death. She's yours? She's a great character. But the thing is, she's great because she's only so much of the story. The story isn't all about her. She doesn't fly the ship, use the lightsaber, shoot the gun, save the day. She's just an integral part of the trio. Star Wars is always about that trio of characters. And they tried it with the prequels with Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Padme, and it worked to a degree. But you really didn't have that with Finn, Rey, and Poe. They always felt like Finn and Poe were doing their own thing, and Rey didn't really fit in the rebellion or whatever they were fucking called. Anyway, long story short, though, Empire Strikes Back. Disney is trying to pull this revisionist history crap. And they're picking the worst fan base. Because Star Wars fans, sci-fi fans, they're like an elephant. We never forget. Okay? Everyone's going to know every little detail. I saw an earlier message in the chat talking about Lucas won, he changed history. Look, Lucas didn't win. The fact that there's 4K 77 despecialized editions, even if there's Addy Wan's revisited version, there is a version of Star Wars, there is an archive somewhere of all the edits to Star Wars. Everyone knows the changes. Some of them are as minute as a different laser bolt effect here, or a new Amperu voice, but everyone knows. And with the Lucas stuff, it sucks to a degree, but at the same time, it doesn't change the actual story as much as the Disney stuff. So now Disney throws Riken down the memory hole for The Empire Strikes Back 40th anniversary. So is The Empire Strikes Back anyone's favorite Star Wars film here on the panel?
Absolutely.
Second to Revenge of the Sith, to be honest.
Oh, you poser.
Revenge of the
I'm
Sith.
kidding, Ryan.
Saying.
I'm fucking with you. You're just a kid.
Well, what about you, author Stephen Walton?
Revenge of the Sith is my favorite.
Oh, okay.
Really? I'm surprised there.
Yeah. More people watch that on something. Jeff brought that up earlier.
Mecca, I'm sorry, did I just ask you? I just got a message on my phone and threw me off.
I don't think so. What was the question?
Your
favorite, is Empire your favorite?
What?
What is your favorite Star Wars film? Sorry.
Oh, it's the favorite Star Wars. Oh, Return of the Jedi. I still like that one.
Mecca likes Ewoks.
I do. They're
Yeah,
cute.
she does.
But I think it's safe to say, Jeff, that we all love Empire Strikes Back.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh hell yeah. Oh yeah.
Yes. So, General Riken was the general on Hoth, the battle that that the rebellion loses in the opening to The Empire Strikes Back. It's a well-paced, action-packed scene. But now, for some reason, General Riken doesn't exist because it was General Princess Leia.
Get out.
At the Battle of Hoth.
The General Princess?
Yeah, now here, let me read this
Wow.
from Ichibaka's Disney Stars is Go.
Hail Ichibaka.
To those who have watched The Empire Strikes Back more times than we can count over the last 40 years, remember the Battle of Hoth like this. And it shows General Riken. But the feminist imbeciles currently destroying Lucasfilm need to rewrite the Leia character so that she can be equal to her Mary Soonis to Rey. Since hardly anyone is paying attention to the Disney trilogy characters, not even Hasbro. And so they've produced yet another insipid, unnecessary episode of Galaxy of Adventures, where Leia is now suddenly a general, replacing General Riken with all of his toxic masculinity. And as you can see right here, Leia. You know what's funny too? This would have been a female character right here. They took her out because the lady that they're talking to about Fire Ion Control, her name's like, I figured it out the other night. Remember we were watching it, and I knew her name off the top of my head, and I can't think of it now. But yeah, this is a lady, because there's 2 women in Empire, and there's 4 women in Return of the Jedi.
Well,
But
Jeff,
that- but,
that character
you know,
was Aphrodite. They merged them together, brother.
I think this character specifically that Riken talks to is a dude, though. He's the one that says they have destroyers coming out. It's not the Ion woman.
Oh, okay. Because I'm
Yeah.
just like, I haven't watched this Disney Galaxy of Adventure thing. I'm trying to find more pictures of it, because there's a little more to the story about making Leia a general. They did it. Here it is. They did it in the comic books.
Yep.
So over on Wikipedia, they're rewriting the Star Wars canon for the Disney canon and the Legends canon, because there's 2 now. And here we go. So this is the original from the genuine Star Wars as they listed. So the commanders of the Battle of Hoth, we have Darth Vader, Admiral Kendall Ozzel, didn't realize that was his first name. Then we have Piet, General Veers, and then some other people. I'm not going to read everybody. But over on the Rebel side, we have General Carlos Raikan, Commander Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia Organa, and then Crix Madine was there? I guess I didn't see him. Anyway, there you go. Princess Leia was just Princess Leia. Now, General Leia Organa is her name from the Disney canon. So they've gone back and they've upped her ranking, because like the article
Actually, they demoted her.
Oh, they did?
Yeah,
Well-
royalty, right?
Yeah, because a princess is much higher than a general.
All depends on your perspective, I suppose. But yeah, like you said,
Okay,
Jeff,
Obi-Wan, you and your fucking points of view.
well, and it's like you said. So some people thought it was out of the blue, and we're like, "What? This is garbage." And they're like, "No, but it happened then." And someone brought up in Star Wars canon now they have this moment right before the Battle of Hoth, where Mon Mothma promotes them all. I think it's Commander Luke Skywalker, Colonel Han Solo, and General Leia. And it's just fucking trash, to be quite honest. You don't think someone would have fucking called her General in Empire if that was the case, like they did in the little cartoon? And that's been the problem with all these Galaxy Adventures. Like the response is, they're just for kids. Why do you care? Well, then I'll say that about fucking garbage Clone Wars if that's the case. Just for kids. Why do you care? But with these, they do other things too, like when. There's a scene where they're rescuing Leia from the Death Star, and she basically treats Luke and Han like they're bitches in the Galaxy of Adventures version.
Wow.
And like what I see is them prepping us. They are prepping our whole for when they remake the original trilogy, because this is what it's going to be like. You know what's going to happen. They are remaking shit that they made 20 years ago, 15 years ago. If they did it animated, now they do it live action. You tell me they're not going to remake the most loved saga in history? Garbage. You know they will, because so many people are still going to line up outside the theater like sheep and give money to it.
Well, I'm going to stand by it's a demotion, because if you remember the bits in Empire when Riken's talking to her, she's just telling him, or he's just telling her the scenarios. It's her decisions. He's talking to her like she's the one in fucking charge, because she's the highest ranking person there.
No, this is just somebody who's not that big of a fan of Star Wars, kind of remembers, oh yeah, it's General Leia.
We
So
gotta,
they're just kind of mixing everything up. They're jumbling all the movies together because they saw them all once, and then they do a comic book. That's really all it is. I can't see it being anything more than that, because you're putting way more thought into it than these people do. I think these people don't care about these properties. They want to get this product out there as quick as they can. It's just a consumable. This is McDonald's. This is just another example of you order your Big Mac and they forget to put a pickle on it just because they're lazy. They don't know what the crap they're doing. They're minimum wage artists and talent and employees, and you're getting crap people making crap products.
That's right.
Well,
And I want my pickle.
I think they I think they forgot the core of the story, in a sense that the only reason that Leia's in charge now is because her dad got blowed up. Like, her dad was the one who was in charge.
Yeah.
And then her dad got killed, so that she just kind of got pushed into this like point where, like, oh, I'm in fucking charge now. Like, they kind of gloss over that in the movies, but if you stop and think about it, I'm sure Jesse knows what I'm trying to say too here. She had to deal with a lot of shit, I'm sure, like at a moment like she's like, I'm in charge of this whole fucking rebellion now.
Well, Mon Mothma's in charge, but yeah, she's obviously.
It does definitely get. That's actually the interesting thing about Leia's character is, like, she loses her. She watches her dad get blown up. Like, she lost her dad there, and she's kind of Like, I think it just makes her character all the more impressive. How she just sort of rolls with all the punches. She's like, "It's a fucking war. I'm a soldier. I'm just rolling with it." Like, no freaking response to any of that stuff.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, now Leia's a badass. Leia's an OG badass.
Leia is a badass. She watched every single person that she knew, where she grew up, where she played, where she went to school. Everything that her whole life was destroyed right there in front of her. And I mean, that character is at a young age. Luke and Leia are young,
Yeah.
And so to have all that responsibility thrust upon her, and both of them, but on her specifically, and to push through that. I mean, it's one of the best written female characters in science fiction, which is why we still talk about her and why she's respected.
That's why I go BS. And you tell me this shit's just for kids. Well, no. Like, why are we sitting here still talking about her, still raving about how incredible she is as full-fledged adults? If she, there's not something more to this story that appeals to us. Also, when it comes to those details, we were all kids. We were all Star Wars fans when we were kids. Except for those of us who were too old to be alive when Star Wars was out when we were kids. But if such a person exists, I'm not saying anybody does in the show, Tom, but I'm just saying.
I missed that.
I love digging at you, Tom.
I didn't hear what she said because everybody started laughing.
I was making fun of you for being old. It's okay. Tom,
Oh yeah, I am probably the oldest one here.
Because Jeremy has the Mario carpet not talking
that's true.
Or me anymore. I got to rag on. You're my new Jeremy, Tom. I got to rag on you instead.
That's fine.
What I
don't mind it.
What I was trying to make before I got distracted is this stuff. When we were kids, we would have noticed this shit. We were the kids with the books, with the books that had the schematic layouts for every fucking ship they built. We're gonna notice if a main character changes rank all of a sudden in the material that's presented in the main trilogy. Like, we are the uber nerds. As kids, we would have noticed this shit too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'd have thought it was fucked up, definitely. I mean, but going back to what we were talking about a little bit before, it's funny. I noticed. Jeff, did you see this?
Hold on one sec. Good. I thought you were pulling something on your screen. That's why I was telling you.
No. With the well, I can, but with the Empire Strikes Back 40th anniversary, we didn't get a Rise of Skywalker toy line, but we're getting the Empire Strikes Back toy line again. Did you see that?
Oh, I know. Believe me, and they're pretty popular. They're re-releasing Han Solo in Carbonite. He's a lower priced figure because he's not a figure. He's just a block of plastic. But still, I mean, dude, we're at a point where like the AT-AT driver is going to be a bigger seller than Admiral Holdo or Kylo Ren because here's the thing. I'm a member of all these Facebook groups where they're like, I don't really put this in videos, but a lot of these high-end collectible companies just stopped their Star Wars line. I don't have any confirmation if it's because the licensing fee was too high or the figures didn't sell, but they just stopped. Like right in the middle of it too. They showed shit that was supposed to come out, but they just don't. My guess is they underperform, so they just stopped midway. But it's the same, with all these new characters. It's like, oh, here's this deluxe Rey. Nobody's going to buy that, so we'll just nuke the whole line. That's what they do. But I wanted to talk too about Empire Strikes Back. One last thing that I don't know if me being drinking a little bit made this noticeable, but there's a part when Luke Skywalker's hanging off the weather vane, and remember how I was going on about the weird sound effect they had from that? Yeah. So go back, folks. Do me a favor. Go back and watch the scene where Luke's hanging from the weather vane and see if the weird sound effect on Disney Plus is original or added in, but it's annoying as shit. And see if you can tolerate it longer than I did. That's all I want to say. So let me read some of our super chats because we are at the 3-hour mark almost, and this is not going to be an 8-hour high council. I'm sorry, folks, but I don't have 5 hours more in me. I don't think anyone wants me to talk for 5 more hours. What? Oh, there's Jesse Milestone of Milestone Entertainment, of course. Yes, you have the show.
You also.
Yes. But I'm just saying, I don't know if they want me to be like, oh, Luke Skywalker. Anyway, let's, I hate Funko Pops too in the chat. So first off, we have our friend, thank you. We have our friend Obi-Wan27883 who asks, what if the DC moved to Netflix, Marvel style, where the series for the villains more rapidly released, where Batman, etc. is in the background on HBO Max? I think that'd be a cool idea.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was
Yeah.
saying that might happen.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm trying to think. I still want this. It's me in the minority, but I would like to see a Spider-Man TV show on a Disney Plus, where you have them deal with the mob and lower end threats, and then you save the big ones for the movies.
Animated or live action?
Live action. Animated would be cool. I'd watch another Spider-Man cartoon, but I think a live action Spider-Man where he's in the suit every episode would be cool. None of this. I'm gonna do one episode per season as Spider-Man, and the rest is Peter Parker. No, we want all of it.
It's funny you mentioned that, but go ahead, Ryan.
I was just gonna say, like you have such an excellent template. Honestly, Spider-Man PS4 was one of the best Spider-Man stories that I've like taken part of in a long time, and I think something like that, maybe without some of the bigger, like enormous boss battles that you do, maybe just take down one of those characters at a time per season. But just a little smaller base, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, I think would be something really interesting.
I'd want to call it that too.
Yeah,
I don't know if you necessarily want it, but it's kind of funny you mentioned that because back when they first announced all those Disney Plus Marvel series,
Yeah.
Buried and all that, and rumors I heard about is they were talking about doing a Tom Holland Spider-Man series on Disney Plus. And everybody said I was crazy when I reported that, but then that was before even Marvel knew that talks between them and Sony had broken down. And now that talks between them are back up again, and everything's back to whatever. I've been hearing rumors again about that possibility of a live action Spider-Man, even if it's limited series. So
I would love that. We have our friend Christopher Richshot, thank you very much, who says this may put back on the timetable of getting a complete vision, since we know JJ was going to do more than one movie. Did you guys? Okay, sorry, Ryan.
Well, I think that is something very interesting that we have with this Snyder thing that I talked a little bit about initially. I haven't since. JJ is supposed to come in and run DC. JJ is supposed to be able to build his kind of universe. The fact that Henry Cavill was sitting there right next to Zack Snyder as they watched Man of Steel and announced the Snyder Cut, I think has a lot of implications. Is that a slap in the face to JJ, who wants to do his version of Superman? What does it mean for Henry Cavill's future with Warner Brothers and Man of Steel 2? There are so many ramifications to this moving down the road that I think could be really interesting.
That could be where some of the resistance is coming from. There's a perfect example of somebody who could be butthurt.
Yeah. In more ways than one, so...
Our friend Tim Scorpion says Sony copy claimed one of their own trailers. Ha ha!
I've seen that.
What idiots. Yeah.
Hysterical.
Yeah, they need to let this Last of Us shit go. Did you see, Ryan? Obviously, this is for everyone. That IGN put out an article today how Last of Us 2 is partially banned in some countries.
Yeah, and listen, I don't know how that's breaking news. The entire thing is based on a character's sexuality that, guess what, isn't straight. And if there's a little brief same-sex kiss scene in Rise of Skywalker, they're going to ban it in these countries. That's why they cut it out. That's a huge theme in this video game. So yeah, definitely the fact that it's banned in the Middle East is not surprising at all to me.
So you're not going to be able to buy Golf Man in Kuwait?
No, probably not.
Just wondering. I was worried. Maybe if I was there, and I might want to pick it up. Thanks.
Yeah, the newest golf simulator.
No, that just speaks to how some of these, whatever you want to call them, the NPC, SJW, whatevers, they don't really stop to think about is they act like we're so bad here. It's no, you don't get it. We're much more progressive than a lot of different places. Trust us. And y'all are making it out like we're the ists and the phobes.
We're so progressive that you can say these things and have parades and all that you do, right? The very fact that you have those freedoms come from people that you proclaim to hate. So it all doesn't make sense to me. I'm sorry. It just doesn't make sense.
No, I'm on the same page, man. We even let one of them on the panel here, right, Mecca? No,
well, and I just think that one of my whole problems with this, obviously I've been right in the middle of this Last of Us thing. I had 2 copyright strikes on my channel for about 2.5 weeks because of Naughty Dog and Sony false copyright striking my channel. The fact that they make Ellie's sexuality such a central part of this video game is a mistake. Not because I think there's anything wrong with that or anything like that. It's because that is going to immediately turn off a large section of people. And at the end of the day, I feel doesn't have a whole lot to do with the game that so many of us want to play. I think it's going to.
The irony of ironies, it's Sony. It's where Ground Zero started, Ghostbusters. And it's coming all back around full circle, and it's blowing up right in their fucking faces. Sorry. And you were on the front lines of it, Ryan.
Yeah.
I mean, wasn't the first game well received? Everyone that's played it has said that it was a good game.
Yeah, it is a good game. And it wasn't until a DLC for it, I forget which DLC it was, that they revealed that Ellie's a lesbian. Everyone's like, okay, whatever, it's DLC. Not as many people played it all the way through, right? But it did sell really well. I have no doubts that this game is going to be incredibly well made from a mechanics standpoint, and it's probably going to be some very interesting gameplay. But what they're doing to a character that is so beloved by so many people, the clear agenda that Neil Druckmann had while making Last of Us, and has only been emboldened by his new positions at Naughty Dog, by his discussions with Anita Sarkeesian, the fact that who the villains in this game are, a homophobic cult. That's not a game that I am going to play. And that's not a game that a lot of people are going to play. However, it still will sell like crazy because a lot of people just know the brand. And
that's like apocalypse setting, right?
Yes, yeah. It's a zombie apocalypse, basically. Yeah.
Okay, zombie apocalypse. So the biggest thing that people are worried about is a homophobic hate group in the zombie apocalypse.
Not in the first one, but yeah, in this one.
Okay. All right. Just want to get that.
It just speaks to their mentality, and it goes full circle around to what we were always saying about, they're more worried about toting about, their gay characters and their this character and their that character than worrying about the story or whether or not people are going to be interested in the show. And it's all a circus instead of it just being, entertainment in this purest sense. They're using people's sexuality and their skin color and their sex to sell a product, and it's disgusting.
Well, it's as stupid as prioritizing what color of shoes you're wearing in a fucking zombie apocalypse. I mean, who cares? It's the last thing I would ever.
It's sexless porn. Let's face it, folks. It's sexless porn. Really, if you're catering to a sexuality, what the hell else is it?
Yeah.
There is a scissoring scene in it.
Never mind. It's porn.
Yeah, just
but I
being
think
real.
it's an excellent point about the sexuality in the video game. Like somebody, because this was something I first thought of it when someone made a comment. I think it was on one of my streams about how oh well, it's the zombie apocalypse anyway. So isn't it bad to be gay in the zombie apocalypse? You don't worry about populating the world. So isn't this counter to global needs? And I'm like, at that point, I was like, you guys are overthinking this. Which means they're overthinking this. Which means everyone's overthinking this. Sexuality has nothing to do with the fucking apocalypse. It just doesn't. Fighting when you are wrapped up in a bad guy storyline in a video game. When in a video game is a love interest an important part other than they get kidnapped and that's why you're killing people? Mm-hmm. There's no relevance to sexuality. Why should sexuality be a big part of any video game, whether you're gay or straight?
Exactly. And I said the same thing about Star Wars. Like before we had all this business with Disney trying to cram all this crap in here. There was only one instance of sex that we really knew of or really had any even remotely close to being on screen, and it wasn't. And that was just the fact that the twins were born. So we know that Padme and Anakin had sex. That's the only time it's ever really come up outside of the flirtation between Han and Leia.
Well, here's the thing: in video games or the apocalypse or anything like that, you're gonna be if it's actually the apocalypse where it's like zombies and crap, you're gonna be fucking everybody because they might die the next day. You might die the next day. You're gonna be living your life.
Yeah, you're gonna rethink a lot of things.
Yeah,
that's for sure. I'd consider fucking a woman in the zombie apocalypse if the woman was Ruby Rose or Mary Mayhem.
What is it with lesbians loving Ruby Rose so much? That's the third time this week I've heard that.
I don't know. Apparently, it pisses her off though when she finds out that women are like, "I'd be gay for you."
It's because she looks like a dude. That's probably why so many straight women say that.
I'm attracted to masculinity, so there's a very, very masculine woman. Every now and then, it sort of piques my interest.
She does kind of look like a demasculized man, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, she looks like Justin Bieber.
I was just gonna say that,
but. Our friend Modalicious says, to quote Mr. Krebs, I like money.
That's right.
Yeah.
Money, 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 money.
I
He's
always
the
think of was it Frito Pendejo from Idiocracy? I like money.
Oh, like money.
Culture Casino, thank you very much for your unicorn sticker. Appreciate that very much. Mark C, what's up? He says, I have a huge problem with Man of Steel and not a fan of BVS. That said, after 2 films, they threw out the lore. I think they need to reel in the fish.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point.
That's a good analogy, actually.
Yeah.
You sell us Marvel and Star Wars, and everyone's so guilty of this. They sell us all of these things, and I will give the MCU credit. I'd say they delivered on the shit they tried to sell us. No other studio has been so ambitious, but also been as patient. DC realistically could have beaten Marvel if they would have just done the long game, or if they would have done, a Justice League Justice League Unlimited style thing where you use these bigger films to introduce smaller characters and maybe even do something crazy. Why don't you dust off Warner Brothers Animation and do shorts in front of your movies? That way you can have this complete experience.
I've said that.
And really build it up.
Yes, I listen, instead of going Marvel light, I just think they should have gone alternative. You know what I mean? They should have captured that other audience. And I think it's there. And I think especially now you're seeing people tired of the Marvel formula. DC could have been well underway into this alternate to get everybody over. But they've decided to shift gears a million times. And they are where they are.
No, I got to get on your side with that one, Ryan. Superman aside, I wish they would have doubled down on the more adult-oriented vision than, like you said, kind of trying to keep getting closer and closer to the Marvel vision to the point where they actually brought in Whedon, literally, for that reason.
Yeah. And it's like they are willing to do it with their animated movies. You know what I mean? Like they're willing to do it with those, but they're not willing to. And those are so well received by so many people. I just wish they would have gone that route. Now we're gonna have a Marvel PG-13 Blade movie. We're gonna have a PG-13 Deadpool at some point. Like this is not what so many.
It's not gonna happen because they can't do it without Ryan Reynolds, and Ryan Reynolds won't sign on if they fuck it up.
We'll see. I think money will talk to Ryan Reynolds eventually.
I think the only one of those that's safe is, I think Jesse's got a point there, and I think that there's a possibility that we will get an R-rated Deadpool 3 just because Bob has it on his banner on his Twitter too.
Yeah.
And there's been rumors that they've been in talks. And I think she's right. I don't think that Ryan will compromise the vision of Deadpool. And not only that PG-13 Deadpool didn't make no fucking money.
It's trash.
It made like not even $6 million, I think.
Yeah.
Was that Once Upon a Deadpool for Christmas?
Yeah, I didn't do very well.
Let's see. Modalicious says, I want my live action Brave Star.
Yeah, we could do some Brave Star. That's it's an 80s cartoon. I remember that show. Yeah, why not?
I got Brave Star on my shirt right now. No, I do. I got all the heroes on one side and all the villains on the other from like Ninja Turtles and fucking Thundercats.
Tom, you are such a nerd.
I am. She-Ra's on there too.
Our friend Mark C says, release the Squidward cut of the SpongeBob movie, Sponge Out of Water.
The Squidward cut.
Our friend 16-Bit Mascot says, Hail High Council, I want to fully extend and uncut. Also, I want fully extended and uncut. Also, director's cut of films. On a serious note, tape Rob to a chair to watch movies. So sorry for the misdirection joke, 16-Bit Mascot. I'm a little tired. Mark C says, Warner Brothers have movies by Errol Flynn, Humphrey Bogart, and John Wayne. That doesn't even bring us to the modern age. Warner Brothers does have a great back catalog. Would you say they arguably the second greatest back catalog?
Who do you think is the first?
Well, with Disney buying Fox, that makes them.
Universal has a really good back catalog too.
I'd still say Warner might have a bigger one. Overall, just because I don't know, maybe that's a tough one.
I don't know, Ryan. Which one has a bigger one?
That is a great question. I don't like. I feel like with Fox, I feel like with that asset, I feel like it's Disney, isn't it? Like when you include the Fox properties.
That's
Warner Brothers has been around for longer though.
That's what I'm trying to say. Is like, yeah, Universal and Warner Brothers have probably had the more longevity and being the same company.
The most exciting, like modern catalog in terms of stuff that's still relevant or being made, or like the ideas that the characters and properties that still have modern life into them. But for back catalog, I think it's between Universal or Warner Brothers, and I think that's going to come down to a matter of taste too.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. But I mean, like, Universal's big things are the Spielberg catalog,
Spielberg,
the Jurassic,
all the monster movies. I don't forget
Jurassic, the Monsters, the Fast and the Furiouses, some of that kind of stuff. But Warner Brothers has like the Looney Tunes, the Hanna-Barbera cartoons,
Dirty Harry.
Well, yeah, every Warner Brothers film from the last 100+ years, including a lot of the back MGM catalog, like Wizard of Oz and shit. Sorry, what were you saying, Jesse?
I say Universal's already also had, some of the really big blockbusters, some classic films, some that's like Oscar winners that have snuck in there in the past 20, 30 years. One of my favorite movies, Gladiator, that's a Universal property. I think that's an absolutely stellar film.
Yes, it is.
They got
Universal has a lot, but their stupidity was calling the fucking streaming company the Peacock.
How much do you think though has to do with like the people at the tippity top that are just trying to be like branding, and they don't actually think about creating a new brand or something with longevity? Yeah, or how
come on, Universal streaming sounds much better than the fucking Peacock.
that does.
Peacock. I just turn into Beavis and Butthead every time I hear
it. That's my favorite line out of the movie. Get the hell out of the cockpit. You said it. Now. Our friend Shogun Orta says, "What do y'all think of High Republic getting delayed?" I'm glad. I don't ever want to support it.
I did a video. I saw it like when it happened this morning. I've been following the High Republic stuff closely because they're finally trying to they're trying to do something like, oh, this interconnected universe between the books and the comics. Motherfuckers, you threw all that away with the EU. Go fuck yourselves. But so I've been paying attention to this, and I think that some people are like, oh, maybe they're listening to people. They're going to change things. I think it's just entirely due to the pandemic. I think it's entirely due to comics being delayed. And since comics are a part of this, they don't have an ETA for those comics to be released yet. With Diamond and all its issues, I don't think they want to set a date. So they pushed the book back, and it was supposed to launch in conjunction with Celebration. I think it's probably a good hint that Celebration may be in the coffin as well.
I hope so.
Moving that back. So
yeah. I know Steven needed to take off here.
Thank you very much, Jeff, for having me on. Thank you, Tom and Mecca and Ryan. Good to stream with you again, brother.
Yeah, man.
Hail the chat, hail the High Council. I really appreciate you guys having me here. And thank you so much for your support. I'm author Steve Malton. You can find me on my channel if you're interested in that and checking out my channel. And hail Jesse Milestone. I hear you in the background. No advertising. And you guys have a great night. Thank you very much for having me on. Hail to the chat.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh. And this goes back to what we just said here, Zeke, or however you say that name. I don't even highlight that one I put in the private chat. He goes, Universal streaming sounds P-related, so we'll go with Peacock instead.
Hey, Tom, hold down the fort for me for just a second.
Oh, no worries, man. I know you got to get cruising here too. But yeah, so no, the streaming business, I think that was the dumbest thing ever. Peacock.
Yeah, it's not very catchy. Like, just keep it simple, man. Like,
well, Warner was smart. HBO Max.
Yeah, exactly. HBO. Look, I'm obviously going to be a big supporter of HBO Max because as with AT&T deciding to say that, hey, we're making Zack Snyder's cut of Justice League, I am going to in turn support HBO Max with my business. Does that mean that I'm going to like and support everything on HBO Max? Probably not. But I still am going to. I think it actually launches like in a couple minutes, doesn't it?
Yeah, like literally, I think a half hour.
Oh, there we go. Maybe a half hour ago it did. Yeah.
It already? I might have, because I'm in the central time zone. So
yeah, I'll have to see. But I'm definitely gonna be signing up for it. And that's at the end of the day. Yeah. At the end of the day, I think that something big like the Snyder Cut is great for HBO Max to get them all that stuff. They just need to. You look at HBO and what they've been able to do with all the critical acclaim that they've been able to receive, as well as from the fans, with a lot smaller stuff to work with, original productions, than something like maybe a Netflix or something over the past couple of years. But you look like where all the awards are going, and we all know we don't give a shit about awards, but still, like, they're going to the HBO programs. Those are really well made. So I think they've got something good cooking there to go up against Netflix. Hopefully they'll do better than Disney Plus, because fuck Disney.
Well, and I think that's the thing with HBO Max is a good idea, because most people, when they were talking about even the streaming services before, everybody always seemed to leave out HBO for some reason, and they've got a lot of numbers on HBO Now and HBO Go. And from what I know, those are two services are supposed to basically, I think, combine into this new service. So
Yep. It's as simple as like getting an email or something.
Yeah.
And you just immediately transfer that over. So that is a huge base already. And you don't need the Disney launch or whatever with all these new people. And I don't know. I've been looking around for deals too, and I haven't necessarily found any big deals with HBO Max. Like I've had freaking Disney Plus for almost a year now for free with Verizon. I haven't seen anything like that. For
AT&T does have a deal, but you have to have a certain level. That's the thing I think I heard.
So sorry, I'm back.
No, we were doing just fine. We were just talking about the Peacock.
Yep.
The dirtiest name in streaming.
Okay, I got an email here. HBO Max is almost here. It's almost here. So it's
Yeah,
not
like-
up yet.
It should be up in 20 minutes.
Yeah, we were just talking about, that's what we're kind of getting going on about. I just checked it because it's not up yet. But they say they're going to have 10,000 plus hours of entertainment. That's another thing we were just talking about too. We forgot is all the TV stuff they've got. Like, not just Friends, but I mean, anything you've seen over the years with the Warner Brothers logo after it, they own that.
You know that I'm contemplating getting this strictly for the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, correct?
I was just going to say everything from like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air to fucking Big Bang Theory is going to be on there.
I'm a sucker for that show. There's no surprise about that.
In West Philadelphia, born and raised.
Now, do you know all the words, or do you just know the words that are on the TV show?
I know the full version.
Okay, cool.
I got
I want
that.
to shoot out of a champagne glass.
There you go. That's what the people of Bel-Air were like.
Yeah.
This might be all right. Our friend Culture Casino says, preach, the fandom menace historian, preach. Well, Stephen Walton appreciates that. I mean, I know he just left, but he is the fandom menace historian, and I love what he preaches.
Yeah, if anything, maybe we can have him just come on for a quick 5-minute sermon every week if he's not a guest that
I'm
night.
down with that.
I think if he can work that out, that'd be super cool. I think everybody appreciate that.
He's like our coach, you know?
Like I said, he's the minister of the fandom menace. I mean, I hate to put too much of the religious connotation onto it, but he owns it, and he's good at it, and he gets you fired up, and he gets you in the, just. I love having him around. He's a great cheerleader in that sense.
Oh, he's a lot of fun. I can't wait to contribute to his book. Our friend Tim Riggs, let's see. He says, read this in a thick German accent. All right. Oh, okay. You can let him like shitty German accent. Even though I took German for years, I should be able to do this. But all right is a terrible thing. And I think it's just about time we had one. That's the worst German accent ever. But, sorry, Tim. People didn't sign up to this channel for my German accents. I don't know why they subscribe, but hey.
On my Twitch channel, I do accents for like a certain amount of channel points on Twitch.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it gets messy sometimes. It gets messy. It's hard to do on the spot.
Yeah. Our friend Will R says, hail the fandom. Popped in to say hi. It's a short work week, but a long one. Off to listen to some Sabaton and then eat and then to bed. Well, I hope you enjoyed your Sabaton, Will R. We're still streaming about 2 hours after you sent that one in, so sweet dreams. Bad SSL with the win of the night says, Jeff, we need Surf Ninjas 2. Rob Schneider cut.
God, no.
NA says, the Waynes have died on screen more than Sean Bean.
Yes, they have. The next time they'll be played by, one of them will be played by Sean Bean. You are.
I want Sean Bean to play Thomas Wayne.
That'll happen. We'll make it happen.
Now, Bruce Lombardo, I want to thank you so much. When you sent this in, it caught me off guard, but thank you, Bruce. With a giant super chat, Bruce says, I would really rather have the first DC movie be a Kal-El and Zod on Krypton in political maneuvering and leveraging favors, then watching the council screw up everything. And then the movie turns into the final act chase with Zod using everything is at his disposal. Can't speak. Sorry, to be caught. I would like that. I feel like that's what Man of Steel was trying to do, Bruce, with the opening. It was trying to really build up the world of Krypton. Could they have done it better? Of course, but I think they did a pretty good job. How would you guys feel about Bruce's suggestion where it's a film about them on Krypton?
I'm not against it. I kind of liked how they started the. It's funny you said, because I thought that would have been a better way of doing it. Would have been like do a trilogy in kind of the same way they did the animated Superman show from the 90s, because he doesn't even get to Earth until like what, the second episode?
Yeah.
You were going to say something there, Ryan. Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, like, I mean, you talked a little bit about how you didn't want to see like the origin stories for these characters. That's a pretty big origin story right there.
It is, but if you set it up correctly, it could be interesting. I get where they're coming from, but
well, I think that we're all hardcore people here, right? We're hardcore comic book fans. That's like a wet dream for us. For like the normie, I don't know. But I would love to see something like that. To be awesome.
Sorry, I was looking at more pictures of that feminized Luke Skywalker and it was making me sick. Anyway.
I thought you were going to say it was making you hard.
No. But Lando's stereotypical afro, that's a whole nother story.
You got to think about it, though, like on the level that when Superman came out and what they had planned with Superman 1 and 2, that was on the same level as Lord of the Rings at that time.
Yeah.
Even bigger, really.
Look at Lando.
And you know, Tom, I like Superman 2 enough the way it is, but I would like to see like the truest version of the Donner cut. You know, the real version of the film, if you will.
Yeah, that's still probably like 80% of what he wanted, but it's still much better. I like the Donner cut better.
Yeah. Thank you. Outside of Lando's crappy afro, what else do we have? We have our friend Matt G, who says Flash showed up in the Arrowverse in Ezra Miller's retirement appearance. There has to be a reason for that. The Arrowverse rebooting the DC shows, etc.
Well, I think one, they wanted it to be cool. I think that's one of the reasons they did it. And then this Flash movie has always been rumored to be Flashpoint. I think that it would have been cool to have a Flashpoint movie at this time if we had all like the Flash solo movie already, a Cyborg movie, a Man of Steel 2, all these things already established in this universe, and then do a Flashpoint and maybe reset a couple things. Now, like, how do you do a Flashpoint now when you've not even fucking established anything in the DCEU? You know what I mean?
You don't. Because Flashpoint is a really good story, but I think requires a lot of, not necessarily a lot of build, but it has to be just done properly. We have to have a DC universe that we care about, and to watch it get stripped away and have something new built, it has to be compelling. With what we have now, it's just like,
Yeah.
There's nothing really, there's no stakes anywhere.
Flashpoint is awesome because of the dichotomy you get to see between the universe that's established and then what happens if everything is just a little off.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
I think that's where Jeff's coming from, is a little bit, is you almost have to know the other world for it to work. Because like for you to be able to get into the Thomas Wayne Batman, you have to know the other Batman pretty well, and same thing with the other versions of the characters and whatnot.
Now, do I want to see Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Thomas Wayne's Batman? Fuck yeah, I do. Do I want to see Aquaman and Wonder Woman do it and then have a battle and like destroy Europe? Yeah, I freaking do. I would love to see Flashpoint done right, but at this point they can't do it right.
No, but hate to say it, DC, just give it up and move on to something else, or like shelve it for 10 years. Our friend Swinging Cod says they should have just bought Michael Rosenbaum back as Luthor for the DCEU. He had aged into the character and does the role solid. I've never seen Smallville. How do you guys feel about the Flash, who is on Justice League, playing Lex Luthor in the DCEU?
I mean, I think it'd be all right. I'm interested to see the Lex Luthor that we get in Zack Snyder's Justice League. I think it's going to be a lot different than he was in the first one. So we're going to see.
Did you say Michael Rosenbaum?
Yeah, he's Luthor in Smallville.
Yeah, you said Flash. That was where I got okay. I didn't hate his character. I think he was all right, but doesn't he not like? He like keeps trying to distance himself from that. Like he didn't even show up for the reunion bit, and they like had to fucking beg him to be in the finale. Like they recast him like 12 times in that show. I mean, I don't think he'd really. I don't know if he really wanted. I mean, he'd probably do it just because it's a big movie, but I don't think he's interested in the character anymore. I think it kind of like ruined his career.
Speaking of comics, our friend Comic Artist Pro Secrets, Ethan, sent in a super chat that says, "Hail High Council." Ethan, thank you very much. I want to have you back on, man. So I'll message you soon. Planet Musk Vlog says Elon Musk to launch Americans into space tomorrow.
Is it going to be Tom Cruise for his film?
We can hope. I'll sign up for day one to watch it.
My prediction for the morning news: we're gonna hear the Aerosmith "Don't Wanna Close My Eyes," and then we'll start showing the faces of all the people that died.
Dude,
I know I'm macabre. I'm sorry.
I was going to take it one step further and say if we woke up tomorrow and found out there was an asteroid hurling towards Earth, I'd just say fuck it.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, well, no, just I don't know. I'll shut up.
Okay. Going for your mini Challenger joke over there. I got you though.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Our friend Joey Bryant, thank you very much. He says, I heard that Disney's still going head to head with all-female reboot of Pirates of the Caribbean. Sorry, Disney, but June Films Pirates 2005 is the only one worth watching.
That's a good one.
Is that the adult one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Has it ever really been a franchise? I mean, has any of them really made money besides the first one?
I'm sure Pirates of the Caribbean 3 had to have made money. That was a huge event. Let's look at them, I guess. I'll check it out.
But I know they were expensive as shit too, and they shot 2 and 3 together.
I've only seen the first one more than once. The other Pirates films I've never watched.
And 4, they spent like $90 million on Johnny Depp alone.
Jeez. Well, wasn't it a huge hit?
I don't think so.
Oh.
That on Stranger Tides or something? Is that one?
I guess. There's Curse of the Black Pearl, and that's all I know.
I'll look it up while you read Super Chats.
Our friend Swinging Cod, I love this one. He says, I will say the Richard Cheese down with the sickness over the survivors adapting to living in the mall was probably the best sequence in Dawn of the Dead remake. I'll agree with you 100%, Swinging Cod. I love every time I hear a Richard Cheese song, I go back to his rendition of Down with the Sickness and think of the part where, was it Ty Burrell's banging the blonde in the video store and he's filming it? Like, I like Dawn of the Dead, the remake. Said it before, I'll say it again. It's a fun movie, and it lives in a good place for me, where the original is superior, but the remake is its own thing, and it's fun. Joseph Bianowitz says, hail to Jeff, hail to the High Council, hi to all, have a great kick-ass show. I think we did, Joseph. I think we did. I think tonight's been really fun getting back into the swing of things, so this was a perfect show to get back into how things should be. Atlas Information says, I cried tears of joy for the entire credits of Man of Steel. Like all mythology, it speaks universal truth to our consciousness if we let it. Now, I like to talk to people that are very passionate about films that I don't necessarily like, because maybe I will learn something about said film, and it'll make me respect it and appreciate it more. Man of Steel is a film that I think is just okay, but if somebody is moved to tears over it, then I would love to hear what it means to you. I think it would be an interesting conversation to have. So, Atlas Information, I'd like to hear more from you. I appreciate, letting us know what really hits you at home. Our friend Captain Palsy says, Congo!
Congo!
Our friend Lokio7 says, Billy Zane as Lex Luthor. Everyone else, go home.
He's not a bad choice.
I like Billy Zane as Lex Luthor. Our friend Neil Herseg, the tattoo guy, says, New Mutants will never happen, and I'll tell you why. Because of that damn Carol Baskin.
Money. Yeah, bitch, Carol Baskin.
Guess what, motherfucker? I hope that the Tiger King hype hasn't fully died off because I want the movie to be a good shit.
I want to see if I can find it before we. I'm not going to say anything. Let's see if I can find it before we go here. I'll shut up. But one thing I've heard about Billy Zane is I've not heard a bad story about him. I've heard he's a really cool dude.
We met him as the channel.
That's right. Yeah, you were one of the people that told me about him. Yeah.
Yeah, he was so great. He called Dion the Jive Turkey. It was hilarious.
I remember that. He was wearing that stupid fucking outfit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was back when I was doing Good Morning Pop Culture, and somebody's like, "Would you wear a stupid suit?" I said, "If you send me a super chat, I'll get any costume you want. I'll let Dion wear it." So we raised some guy gave $50 right away. He's like, "Get Dion a turkey suit," and I said, "Okay." So I went on the stream and I bought the turkey suit. I put it in my Target cart, and then I tweeted out a picture when I got the suit in the mail, and we put Dion in it. So I guess for September's Horror Hound, we should do another one of those. Let the audience decide. Since Drunk 3PO gets his onesies, and we'll do our inflatable costumes for Dion. Put him out there for show. Bruce Lombardo says Superman can fly through rings like the N64 BS. Bruce, don't get me started on fucking N64 Superman. All right.
The only thing I want to fly through rings on N64 is Star Fox.
Ooh. Did you ever play Star Wars Rogue Squadron on the first?
Oh my god, yeah.
That was another. I mean, because Star Fox was on rails, so it was a little different. But when I think of flying games, I usually go right to that one because that was so mind blowing back in the day.
Yeah, I still remember. You could use the code DEADDAC. I think that's how you got the Millennium Falcon. Remember?
I think the code for Millennium Falcon was Farm Boy.
Oh, I thought. Well, there's Dead Dak. There's Chicken, and that's how you get the ATST for that little side mission. There's so many codes for that, but yeah, awesome game. I actually like the GameCube one as well, Rogue Squadron 2.
I prefer it more.
Yeah, I like the idea of getting out there with Wedge. The idea of Wedge crash landing on Geonosis and having to use the Jedi Starfighter with the gravity bombs to get through the asteroid belt. I love that. I miss freaking LucasArts. Holy shit. Or not LucasArts. Lucas. Yeah.
Yeah, but they made some really LucasArts in general just had a really great menu of games. I'm trying to think of a better word for it, but there was just some really good, unique games they put out over the course of a decade plus. Like they may not have been the biggest selling games, but Lucasfilms or LucasArts, you had your point and click stuff, and then you had licensed stuff that was still great. I loved all of them that I played.
They put a shit ton of stuff out. And sometimes they didn't overthink it. They were like, hey, you know what? Doom is cool. Let's do Doom Star Wars. And you get, the Kyle Katarn game, you get Dark Forces, right? They're like, hey, these little point and click kind of collect resources strategy games. All right, let's do what was that one called? Battlefield or something. It wasn't well, you know what I mean? You had Battlefront, you had KOTOR and KOTOR 2, you had Force Unleashed, you had all the Kyle Katarn games, Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast, Jedi Academy. So many great games came out of there. Now, what have we had since Disney took over? We've had like 4 or 5 games released, Star Wars games, maybe 4. You've had Battlefront 2, Jedi Fallen Order. Are there any other console releases for Star Wars?
No, just those 3.
Yeah, like they're just so scared.
There's probably a ton of app games though. There's probably like 27,000 different app games for mobile,
Oh, you guys don't have phones?
Well, that's where they make probably more of their money anyway.
Probably low effort.
Mm-hmm.
Empire at War. That's the other one one of the others I was thinking about.
I like the RTS Star Wars games because I feel like narratives are great, but sometimes you can just play your own story as you're, dominating the galaxy. I like that one too.
Oh yeah.
Our friend Sadukar 7th Legion, thank you very much. He says, Comics Division would love to be a part of the discussion. I hope to see him on this in the future. He has some great knowledge. Also, hello from Highlands. Sadukar 7th Legion, thank you very much. Yeah, we've had Comics Division on. Was he on last week or last time, Tom?
I think so. One of the last times, yeah.
He's always welcomed on the channel. So, yeah, we should have him on. We'll talk more about this.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Insanity says, I don't know, man. Zombies, crafting seems a bit too ambitious for a golf game.
Honestly,
Yes.
I mean, really, besides Ryan, I don't think there's anybody we wouldn't have on again.
Yeah.
Just kidding, Canal. You know that. He knows I gotta give him shit. He's like our internet kid, like Jeff and I and Gary. We all met him before he had like his channel and all that shit. He was just this little kid.
It's true. It's like we just had a
Sitting
big
in a
orgy, like a big orgy in Vegas and San Diego Comic-Con, and then I spawned from that.
Yeah, that's kind of true.
As long as we don't have to pay the child support, I'm cool with all of it.
Yeah, you ain't getting a dime out of me.
We'll make Gary pay.
Of course, he's the one with all the big bucks.
Exactly.
Mr. Insanity, thank you very much. We read that one. Sudakar, 7th Legion, says, CW Flash is a joke. Shoot. Run out a door. He can't catch you. CW destroyed the Flash. It was okay at start, but turned into crap far too quickly.
Well, we had a joke for the longest time. I mean, we didn't originate it or anything, but we adopted it. The whole, God damn it, Barry, because he kept fucking with the timeline in the show all the time. Like, that's kind of where I fell out in, like, the 3rd or 4th season. I've got, like, the first 3 seasons on Blu-ray, but, like, yeah, I just got so sick and tired of them messing with the timeline all the time.
Our friend Franchise History TV, thank you very much. He says, what in the soy boy is this? I assume you meant Luke Skywalker's very feminine face.
Yeah.
Luke Skywalker blow-up doll.
Tim Riggs says, well, let's be fair, Jeff. That art style looks fine. The art depicting Disney SJW Wars characters, nothing about that is fine or okay. I'll give it a pass for Ray. It makes her look better than the real thing. But our friend Bruce Lombardo says, nobody was fantasizing to Carrie Fisher after 2012. It was all retrobation, slave Leia. So I was like, what's that word? Retrobation. That's a new word now.
Retrobation.
Yeah.
But I like that.
That's a new one.
Our friend Dark Saber Force says, funny thing is, in early drawings of Luke was originally a female. The one where she's looking over Mos Eisley. I did know that. If you're wondering, folks, if you want to look that up, watch Empire of Dreams. It's on Disney Plus, and it shows the actual sketch that Dark Saber Force is talking about. We also have our friend Bruce Lombardo again. Thank you, Bruce, for everything tonight. He says, Ray is a Mary Sue. You're complaining about her for 3 movies? Laughs in Honor Harrington, character by David Weber. I don't know who that is. Do you guys know?
Say it again.
David Weber.
Honor Harrington, a character by David Weber.
Off the top of my head.
Not ringing any bells.
Let's see. I'm looking it up real quick. Honor Harrington is a fictional character created in 1992. As a heroine of the eponymous Honorverse, a universe described in a series of best-selling military science fiction books. Oh, okay. She was born in 3961. Not too far off from now. But no, I'm looking up the character right now. She seems to be like Ender from Ender's Game, but a female version. The art,
the movie or the book?
The book. It looks like I've never seen the film of Ender's Game.
But good. The movie is fucking dog shit compared to that book.
Honor Harrington's a pretty cool name, though. I never heard of her until now. I'll see if my friend Joel's heard of her. Ask Bruce, because Bruce is up into the or not Bruce, because Joel loves his sci-fi stuff. And then finally, our friend Darian217 says, what is the best version of Star Wars 4, 5, and 6 to buy on Blu-ray before it goes out of print or Disney changes it? Well, Darian, it's kind of a hard thing to tell you, because if you get the cut on Blu-ray from Lucas, it's going to be the 2011 edition with new changes. If you get the new box set, which nobody really seems to be getting, but Tom does own a few single releases from, you're going to get the same exact movies with just color changing. And all those color timing changes were done by Lucas. So you're going to get the most Lucas-approved version on Blu-ray. But if you want like the old ones, you got to track them out online. And I recommend you go to originaltrilogy.com, and they'll tell you how to find them. Do you guys have anything else you want to add on how to find the OG cuts of Star Wars? I think it's the best advice I can give personally.
For these specialized editions. Just look up those.
Matey, I have no idea how to best find them.
You
may need a treasure map.
Right.
What was that, Mecca? Sorry.
F those movies. I don't know.
The best versions are either the specialized or the the 4K cuts.
Yeah, the
Oh.
despecialized are the good ones. I mean, you can find those pretty easily on some sites, but
And they can come after me all they want. I own how many goddamn different versions
yeah,
of
and
that
actually,
movie?
it's
Like,
legal to own a
seriously.
backup. If
Exactly.
you do own them.
Technically, it's legal if you own it already. So
Yeah.
Yep, that's what we. Jesse has the despecialized. I have the official cut, and yeah, we can watch whatever we want. So I think that is going to close out the High Council. We're at 3 hours 42 minutes, so about half what we did for the international cut. It was a long show, but it never felt long. And I'd like to thank our guests. We had Ryan Cannell from RK Outpost. Ryan, where can they find you on the internet, my friend?
Well, you can find me on my channel. You can search Ryan Kinnell, or you can search RK Outpost. You'll find me either way. I talk about Star Wars. I talk about comic books. I talk about pretty much anything pop culture related. If it rolls into nerd culture in a way, you can also find me on Geeks and Gamers and their side channels, Gaming with Geeks and Sports Wars, pretty much all over. Oh, and my Twitch channel and Geeks and Gamers Twitch channel. So a lot of different places you can find me. It's been awesome. Again, thanks for having me, Jeff. Like I said, yours is the channel that I found first in this foray into this side of the internet. So I'll always appreciate it. I'll always remember the first time I was on the channel right here. So thanks, man.
Well, it won't be the last time, dude. So just we'll have to figure out another time to have you on. Tom has been working out some awesome guests, so we'd love to have you back.
Oh, for sure, man. Anytime. Thank you.
Mecca, where can we find you on the internet?
Mecha Random 42. I've got a channel. Sometimes I stream on Twitch, Random Game User 42, and pretty much everywhere. Midnight's Edge After Dark here. Where else am I? High Strangeness over on Creepy Little Book. I never sleep. I'm a robot.
What's that like?
It's very exhausting.
Oh, by the way, our friend Last Sigil sent in a super chat with no message. Thank you very much, Last Sigil. That just popped up at the bottom. And our friend Bruce Lombardo also says, Ryan has a bombing coffee mug and pixelated shirt.
That's right. I do. I do have a merch store. You can find that at the pinned comment on my Twitter. And I also have some new merch that says "Fuck Naughty Dog." So until they copyright strike that, go buy it. Thanks, Bruce. Bruce did buy the cup and a shirt, so I appreciate you, buddy.
Tom, where can we find you on the internet?
you can find me at Midnight's Edge and Midnight's Edge After Dark and roaming around everywhere else because, like Mecca, I don't sleep as well. That's the rumor going around.
Folks, I do sleep, so I'm going to head over to Mindless Entertainment for now. You can follow the link in the chat if you want to see what we're doing over there. We're going to be talking about some more of this stuff. It's going to be a continuation of the High Council, so bring all your questions, bring all your excitement over there. I'll be back tomorrow night with, I just keep wanting to call it Good Morning Pop Culture. No, Fandom Menace tonight. I'll be back with that tomorrow night. We'll be talking about some stuff. I'm working on another video. I'm going to try to have 3 out this week, so make sure you guys keep checking back. We've seen a big upswing, so welcome to all the new people. And don't let YouTube keep you from us. Just keep coming back to the channel and follow us on over social media, on all the social media platforms, and we'll let you know what's next. I'm expecting 38 cases of comic books that I have to prepare to process so we can get those out to people. So I'm going to probably do live streams of me signing and boxing comic books and talking about life or whatever you guys want to talk about. You want to see what cases of these things look like, let me know. We'll have a live stream. But be on the lookout. We're going to do a secondary Indiegogo and some stuff like that and some other surprise things like the cards and other things that we're going to show. But we just had to get through everything. And Last Sigil, thank you, man. We always read every single super chat. Just the way the window pops up sometimes, the last 1 or 2 will get cut off. So I didn't want you to think we were forgetting about you. It just didn't show. But I always read all of them. So, folks, I'm going to head out. I'm going to head over to Mindless Entertainment. Thank you again. And most importantly, always be excellent to each other.